Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to Anglesey Circuit and this live stream of the 750 Motor Club's annual visit to North Wales. With a blue sky now overhead after heavy overnight rain, the circuit has dried out and we should be in for a cracking day of racing here at Anglesey on the Coastal Circuit this weekend, the 1.56 mile shorter layout. My name Ian Simon. Up here in the commentary box, we'll be hearing from Andy McEwen as well, alongside me in the box during the course of this weekend. Kieran Mogg will be on duty down in the Parc Ferme area, getting a word with drivers after each race as well. And as I say, weather forecast for the rest of the day is pretty good. It was a wet start to the day, certainly. There's just a reminder of where we are. Anglesey Circuit, just over 1.5 miles in length. It's quite a technical circuit. Lots of corners squeezed into that 1.5 miles with a relatively slow average lap time, but it usually produces some very good racing indeed. And as I was saying about the weather forecast, it is indeed set fair. It's saying it's sort of overcast at 1 o'clock, but right now we do have sun overhead. Oh, we have wind as well, by the sounds of it, out there on the circuit. It's a breezy day, as it so often is here on the coast at Anglesey Circuit. Final qualifying session of the day has just come to its conclusion. The checkered flag is waving and drivers from the Coupe Racing Clio Sport Championship are on their way back to the paddock, and very shortly we'll have cars out on the grid for the first race of the day. But as I've mentioned, Andy McEwen is alongside me once again. Andy, great to have you with us, and we're looking forward to some fantastic racing this weekend. Really busy day, 12 races ahead of us.
Indeed so. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be part of the 750 Motor Club paddock, and always a pleasure to be here up at my sort of second most local racetrack, I suppose, the Anglesey Circuit. I've spent a few weekends here recently and seen an awful lot of grey sky above me, so it's nice to see a little bit of blue sky starting to creep out now, and the sea looking a little bit more inviting than it was when we first arrived here this morning. But it's a lovely circuit, as you said, technically demanding, but usually one that does provide good racing. That run out of Church, up the school, straight into Rocket, always a prime opportunity for overtaking, and certainly a circuit that the drivers enjoy, and as you said, a busy paddock. There are lots of drivers who have chosen to make the, many of them, very long journey over to North Wales, which rather proves the appeal of this place.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite a few drivers list this as one of their favourite circuits, and I think that in part, some of them very much say, that's because the views are fantastic, because you're coming down through the corkscrew. I mean, they probably shouldn't be quite as distracted as all that by the scenery, but as you can see, I mean, what's not to like about that? It's very picturesque, isn't it? The view over the sea and the coast that we have here, the mountains in the distance as well. We can see the sort of Snowdonia range from our commentary position here as well. So as we've said, cars are just heading in after that session. What we've got coming up for you today is a range of sports cars and saloons, really. So we've got bike sports coming up in a moment, but we've also got the Armed Forces Race Challenge, the 116 Sprint Series and the 120 Coupe Cup. So we've got BMW action for you today. They have a couple of races. We welcome this weekend guests from the Mini 7 Racing Club, the Mini Miglia and Mini 7 Championships, with 4 different classes all here during the course of this weekend. We've got the 750 Motor Club's very own Nankang Sports 1000s featuring Cup 200. We've got the Tagiwa Type R Trophy that has a triple header, 2 races for the Mazda 7s, and the K-Tech Racing Clio Sport Championship as well, also 3 races for them. But we're now going to turn our attention to the first race of the day, which is for the Radical Bike Sports Championship. And there you can see the safety car lined up at the front of the grid, and cars heading out of the assembly area now before they head off onto their green flag lap, which for bike sports is a rolling lap. It's a rolling start that we have for the Radical Bike Sports Championship. So they will form up on the grid, they will head off on 1 lap of Anglesey behind the safety car, and at the end of that they will be released out into what is a 25-minute race, a new format for bike sports this season, 15-minute qualifying and 2 longer races, 25-minute races. Let's have a look at how this grid is going to line up then, and it's an interesting format we have for the grid these days. So the top 8 in qualifying, their times are reversed to set the grid for this. So it's Phil Brown that's lining up on pole position, and he did a lap of 1 minute 19.651. Besides him is Shane Stoney who won the first couple of races of the season. He's alongside him on the front row of the grid. Row 2, Steve Larkham, who leads the Class A Championship coming into this weekend, and besides him is Doug Carter, very experienced racer. Then it's the number 55 car, which is that of Daniel Headlam, and number 1, the two-time champion in bike sports, Leon Morel. On to row 4 of the grid, that's where we find number 12, Andrew Fido. He should have been a bit further forward, but he had a yellow flag transgression during qualifying, so he's been pushed back 3 places. He lines up alongside Charles Hall, who was fastest in qualifying with a 1 minute 13.154 in his Mittel. Row 5, on the inside we have the number 19 car of Jamie Keevil, and next to him is number 21, the Daytona Motorsport boss Charles Graham. It's Miles Drew, number 17, and number 60 is Andrew Gord. And then on the 7th and final row, although we'll see if we get any extras at the back, it is the number 2 car, which is that of Ross Board. 16 is Laura Farrow, and then possibly are we going to get the extra 2 as well? Yeah, it looks like we are going to get the 57 car of Pedro Oliveira and the 66 car of Richard Hardy as well. So I think it's going to be 16 cars that we have, 8 ranks of them, and actually pretty good turnout for bike sports here at Anglesey Circuit. And an intriguing format this, Andy, because we do have the partially reversed grid, the top 8 flipped. So you've got the likes of Charles Hall, who is very rapid. He's going to be coming through from row 4 of the grid. It should be quite exciting.
Yes, I wonder whether some drivers maybe try to play that system a little bit. It's what I'd probably try to do. I'm not clever enough to do it, but if I were to be, then that's certainly an option, isn't it? Try and maybe just drop half a second or so, especially if you're someone like Charles Hall. He was on pole position, or fastest in qualifying anyway, by nearly a second and a half. So if he knew that, then he might have been able to play the system. But anyway, I'm glad he hasn't, because
I'm not going to lie. I see Shane Stoney on the front row, and that thought did cross my mind.
Yes, I was wondering that myself. We know how quick Shane Stoney ordinarily is, starting, as you said, a bit further towards the front. But hey, it gives us guaranteed excitement, and I like the fact that it's a longer race as well. 25 minutes, that seems only fair, doesn't it, in a qualifying format that should, in theory, put some of the quicker drivers further back. At least this gives them plenty of time to work their way forwards.
Indeed, tale of the championship so far this season is that it's Leon Morel who leads. He's on 58 points. Philip Brown has 50, and Stephen Larkham has 49. He's the first of the Class A drivers. Shane Stoney won both races at Donington Park way back on Easter Monday. Stephen Larkham and Leon Morel shared the outright victories at Silverstone. That was about 7 weeks ago now, so been quite a gap in the championship, which comprises just 5 meetings this season, a relatively short but select calendar of events. They go to Brands Hatch and back to Donington Park for the Grand Prix circuit to conclude the season this year. The idea being that fewer events should mean more cars on the grid at each event. So safety car is shortly going to pull in. It does pull into the pit lane, and we are ready for 25 minutes of racing around the Anglesey Coastal Circuit for the Radical Bike Sports Championship. Cars coming up to the line, and the red lights go out, and away they go then. And it's going to be Philip Brown that you think he's going to lead, or is Shane Stoney going to go round the outside of him at turn number 1? They're side by side. Stoney a little bit wide onto the curbing and the green concrete there, and he's trying to get up the inside and take the lead away from Brown as they turn their way through the banking for the first time and down towards Church Corner. And it looks like number 89, Shane Stoney, from the outside of the front row, has therefore done it, Andy.
Yes, indeed, he has. A big bottle up, meanwhile, in the battle for third position, which sees, I believe, Leon Morel break through into third position in the number 1 car. He swept round the outside of everyone through the banking and picked up a number of positions. Meanwhile, more side-by-side action, and this almost involves Charles Hall. There's contact at the top of the hill, though. Around goes the 55, and that is Daniel Headlam tapped into a spin, I'm afraid, at the top of the hill. Was that Stephen Larkham who got into him? I think
it was,
wasn't it? Stephen Larkham, who nearly got the lead at turn 1, backed out of it, and now involved in contact up at Rocket.
And that car is still stationary there, covered by yellow flags. The marshals will be hoping that the car will get going of its own accord. They may need to assist otherwise. So the leader's heading back through the corkscrew and towards the completion of the first lap of this race. And it is Shane Stoney there, number 89, that is leading. Philip Brown is second. Leon Morel, champion last year, is in third place. Andrew Fido fourth. James Keevil fifth. Jamie Keevil fifth. Charles Hall just slotting in. He's got a transponder issue. He slots into fourth place on our time screen. So he did make up effectively 4 places on the opening lap, but we do now have yellow flags, and I think that's because we're going safety car, Andy.
I suspect that's the case, because as you can see on the insert there, we still have Daniel Headlam's car stationary.
And Charles Hall looks to be going slowly, coming out of the banking there. I can see that. We just saw a brief shot of it on the screen, and I can see out of our commentary box window, I think that's Charles Hall going slowly, and he's certainly one of the fancied runners for this, having set the best time in qualifying. There he is, number 77, in one of the Mattels on the grid. It's a Radical-dominated grid in this Radical Bike Sports Championship, but one of the Mattels now, the fastest of them, is out of the race, and Charles Hall climbing out of his car.
Well, I wonder what that is then. That's such a shame because he really benefited, didn't he, from the skirmish up at Rocket on the opening lap. He was right behind that group that all collided at the top of the hill and picked up 2 or 3 positions as a result. But sadly, that's short-lived. He's out of the car. He's got it well out of the way, though, so hopefully they won't feel the need to remove that under the safety car.
He's only had 1 finish so far this season, Charles Hall, so this is, I think, he's had 2 non-finishes, 3 now, and a non-start as well in previous races. So some reliability issues possibly with the Mattel this season. A great shame that he's out of the race. Of course, he was last year's Class A champion. He was 2nd overall in the championship last year as well. So very much one of the fancied runners, expected to be very strong this weekend, but it's not proving to be a particularly happy experience for him so far. So we're working now lap 3 of this race. Of course, it's Shane Stoney still leading as we've gone behind the safety car. Number 89 from number 11, Philip Brown. Number 1, Leon Morel. 12, Andrew Fido. 19, Jamie Keevil. 5, Doug Carter, rounding out the top 6.
Indeed so. So a great first lap that from Leon Morel, wasn't it then? Like I said, went round the outside of the banking, then round the outside at Church Corner. He's up into 3rd place, and I think we'll be feeling fairly satisfied with that, having started 6th on the grid. Of those that started or qualified inside the top 3 or 4, if you like, he's the one that's made the most progress. He's up there into the top 3 already. Whether he's got an answer for Shane Stoney, though, upon the restart, I suspect it will come down really to how quickly he can deal with Philip Brown, because there's a good chance Stoney might be able to get his head down and pull away. Leon will want to try and get into 2nd place before that happens. That's
right. Now, of course, they do sit within different classes as well, don't they? So just to explain to people, there are different classes in this. Class A is effectively for cars with tuned motorcycle engines, so Shane Stoney and the other drivers with the pink background number, or number background to the number. For those of you watching on the live stream, they're the Class A cars, and the Class B cars have production engines, both up to 1500cc capacity, quite often Hayabusa engines. So it's the state of tune. There are also differences in the sort of weight limits within each class as well, and you do see Class B cars and Class A cars mixing together quite readily, especially at circuits like Anglesey, where there's less emphasis on ultimate power. As we've said, there's a lot of corners here. It's a very technical circuit, and so probably the advantage for a tuned engine is not what it is at other tracks. So it looks like they're trying to clear away the number 55 car. Daniel Headlam, the 31-year-old project manager from Leighton Buzzard, started out his racing in Formula Ford 1600, was, I think, a competitor in the first season of the latest iteration of Formula 4 as well, and he is sadly, after that incident on the first lap at Rocket, not going to take any further part in this race. But it being a 25-minute race, Andy, there is still quite a long time to go.
Yeah, absolutely, and plenty of time for this lead battle to shake out, isn't there? There is on the insert still Charles Hall's car. I suspect they'll leave that there. It's not in a dangerous position, really, on the inside, well on the inside of Church Corner, but obviously Daniel Headlam's car needed to be removed. I don't think there's a huge amount of damage done to Daniel's car, though. I think he just really had stalled it after being tapped into that spin, so hopefully that car should be easily repairable ahead of the second race of the weekend. There you can see they're just taking a moment or two to get it hooked up to the tow truck, and I think they are just going to tow it out of the way rather than lift it, so that speeds the process up a little bit more. So I suspect one more lap behind the safety car after this, then we should be good to go racing with, I would imagine, something like 15 minutes to go. Yeah,
I would have thought there should be plenty of racing time left. It's a shame that it's not going to be the full 25 minutes. So Shane Stoney leading, and of course he's started out his car racing career with the 750 Motor Club over a decade ago, racing in Sax Max, the junior saloon car series. It was morphed into the Junior Saloon Car Championship when the BARC took that on some time later. But yeah, it was with that he started his career as a junior, and he raced in minis, raced in I think the Radical Challenge as well, the main Radical Motorsport category as well. Oh, and another car off is Charles Graham now. Now, where's he parked himself? Yeah, on the right-hand side of the circuit, on the Rocket. That's an unusual place to pull off.
And a very sharp angle as well to pull off. He's not simply pulled up to the side of the road, but turned full 90 degrees off the road.
But that is going to need to be recovered, I suggest. That cart. So the marshals will have reported that to race control. Race control will be deciding what to do about that. And just as we thought we were going to probably get back racing again, probably in another lap's time, there's a fly in the ointment. So often this happens, doesn't it, Andy, that you have a safety car situation that is about to be cleared, and then for some reason it has to be extended because someone else has had to pull off the circuit in a rather dodgy position.
Yeah, and that is a dodgy position on the approach to Rocket. We get a lot of side-by-side racing up there. There's always a risk of one driver perhaps being squeezed off the road, and quite obviously you don't want a car stuck at the side of the road, and so that radical SR3 RSX will need to be removed. There you can see the recovery truck is there. In fact, they're stopping the race. They're red flagging the race. So this is sensible, I think, really. Rather than waste everybody's time touring around behind the safety car for another 6 or 7 minutes, we are going to stop the race and then presumably have a restart over maybe 15 minutes or so, which will inevitably eat into our lunch break. But hey, at least it means that the drivers in the Radical Bike Sports Championship can get something close to a full race in, which is what we all want.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Andy. So what will happen here is the cars will follow the safety car back round. They will come back either into the pit lane or onto the grid. They're signalling them onto the grid, I think, so they can be lined up ready for the restart. Now, we had more than 2 laps, so it will need to be a new grid that they go from for the restart. But while all of this is going on, we'll take a short break. So the cars on the green flag lap ahead of this restarted Radical Bike Sports race. We had a number of cars needing recovery after various incidents in the first part of the race. There was the contact between Stephen Larkham and Daniel Headlam that meant that he was stranded at Rocket, but behind the safety car we had both Charles Hall and Charles Graham pull off the circuit. So we're down to 13 cars and the race distance is going to be 12 minutes once this rolling green flag lap has been completed. The grid has been set basically by the order as it was at the end of the first lap of the race. So it is Shane Stoney this time who's going to be starting from the inside of the front row, from pole position, rather than the outside as he did last time. But it is going to be Philip Brown next to him, Andy McEwen alongside me. Looking forward, hopefully, to a good clean 12 minutes of racing.
Yes, I hope so. I really want to see how this one shakes out once we get a few laps under our belt, whether or not Leon Morel can continue this charge through the order and maybe challenge for at least a class win, if not an overall win. Remember that he in the green, white and black number 1 car made by far the best of the starts, really. Initially, he's now starting from the inside of row number 2, so if he's really punchy off the line, could even be challenging for the race lead in the first few corners. So yeah, should be an exciting restart. Hopefully they keep it clean and we get 12 minutes of good racing in.
Absolutely, 12 minutes. It's probably going to be about 10 laps or something for these cars. The quickest time for Charles Hall, who's no longer in this race, was 1:13.154, and that, of course, when the track was still damp first thing this morning. It's now fully dry, so the lap times should be a bit quicker than that. Through the final corner they come up to the line. The red lights are on at the moment, but very soon they will turn out and the race will get underway. And it is Shane Stoney who makes a good start. Leon Morel trying to follow him through on the inside line. Philip Brown in the red car trying to go around the outside of both of them, actually. And he might well have the lead as they head up towards the banking for the first time. You see, it is the red car of Brown that gets the lead. Stoney is still just about in second place, but he's going to lose that to Leon Morel as they turn through that hairpin and down towards Church Corner. So not a great restart for Shane Stoney, and he's dropping further back down the order. So he's got a problem. Yeah, Shane Stoney's car is broken, I think. So from pole position to the back of the field he goes. Let's just hope he can get it off the circuit and into the pit lane rather than stopping on the side of the track. This for the lead. Leon Morel up on the inside of Philip Brown at Rocket. He takes the lead away, Andy.
Wow, supremely late on the brakes there for Leon Morel. I thought he was guaranteed to overshoot the corner, but no, got it stopped, got through the corner, absolutely okay. Now, Shane Stoney, by the way, had just enough power in his car to make it halfway up the school straight and then pulled off onto the access road. So his car's out of the way. We should be good to continue racing without the need of a safety car, which is good news for us and brilliant news for Leon Morel, who already, Ian, is starting to make his escape.
Certainly is, and he's up and over the line now to complete the first lap, and already he's got a gap of 1.6 seconds over Philip Brown in second place from the rolling start, a 1:11.088. For context, the lap record for his class, Class B, a 1:04.83 set by Joe Stables just over 5 years ago. So we'll see if Leon Morel can trouble those kind of lap times as this race goes on, but you can see he is pulling away from Brown in second place, and there's Stoney's car, and as Andy said, he's pulled off it on the sort of access road out of harm's way, we would think, so the race should be able to continue. There you can just about see that where the car is. Shouldn't be too much of a problem there. As we're watching the number 19 car, that's Jamie Keevil heading through Rocket with Doug Carter just behind him in number 5.
Yes, Doug Carter, who has been racing radicals for a long, long time, hasn't he? Often that little PR6, which you'd think is pretty well suited to the Anglesey circuit even, being very small and nimble and agile through the technical sections. So this next sequence of corners down through the corkscrew you would imagine would favour him. Behind, though, similar car of Larkham under real pressure, isn't he, for 6th position. That's actually probably the best of the battles right now, is that 6th place squabble. Larkham just about ahead of the 57 of Pedro Oliveira, who started from the back row of the grid. There he is in the Mattel, and he has rocketed through the order, 7th at the moment, but challenging for 6th as they head for the banking.
Yeah, that's right. And you can see he's got the novice cross on the back of his car as well, as a few of the competitors have actually. Some of them are a bit difficult to spot because they're on the underside of Wiggins, but that indicates that they are less experienced in car racing. So there's Larkham, who leads the Class A Championship coming into this weekend, the driver from Northern Ireland, a regular in the Kirkiston Northern Ireland Road Sports Championship, but he's done all of the bike sports rounds so far this year in his radical. We're going to get a change there. Owen Miles Drew trying to go round the outside of Pedro Oliveira at the second part of Rocket, and I think he gets a better exit from the corner, and he is able to pull away then in his radical ahead of the Mattel, which seems to be a little bit ill-handling at the moment for Pedro Oliveira. He is dropping down then to 8th position.
Yeah, so just as I thought he was going to gain a place, ended up losing one then, and Pedro Oliveira drops down a position overall, but as you said, not within class, because Miles Drew is running within Class B. There through the first corner, at target comes the 3rd, 4th, 5th placed group, and this is a battle for class lead, isn't it then, with Fido leading in Class A, James Keevil and Doug Carter both in the same class as well, and I'd say that James Keevil is a little bit closer this time around, heading through Church Corner, and has a good run off Church Corner as well, so I think we might be about to see a challenge for the class lead here as they head up the school straight. Is he going to be close enough into the braking zone? He's closing all of the time in the slipstream, dives to the inside line, late on the brakes, but ultimately not quite late enough.
No, great little battle going on here. As you say, Doug Carter at the back of this group, all 3 of them in the same class as well. That's Class A, but it's Andy Fido who is at the head of the group at the moment. The 61-year-old garage and body shop owner from Western Supermare, been racing in bike sports since 2020, did some karting back in the 1970s, and this is the ex-Charles Adrian car that he races, run by RJ Motorsport. So he, at the moment, is in 3rd position and the class lead as well. He's got Jamie Keevil behind him, also seen out sometimes in swinging 60s races with the Classic Sports Car Club in his father's Lotus. And Doug Carter as well raced in the RGB Championship with the 750 Motor Club for quite a few years, and then switched to bike sports, and he's been a regular in that PR6 the Cumbrian for quite some time. Here's the challenge from Keyville down into Church Corner. Looks like he's going to get the class lead away from Andy Fido, and he's done it. So number 19, Jamie Keyville, goes through to the class lead.
Yeah, had a much better run off the banking, got to the inside into Church, made the move stick, and now Doug Carter wants to try and do the same thing in the PR6. Can't get to the inside line though into Rocket because Andrew Fido just had that line covered, so at least successfully defends second position in class, but has now, as you said, lost the class lead to James Keyville. Keyville in qualifying was 9th fastest overall, so actually a little bit slower than Fido, but as Ian said earlier on, that was in damp and slippery conditions. In the dry now, though, it does look like James Keyville has the advantage, and actually Fido starting to struggle now as we move into the second half of this restarted race.
That's right. Jamie Keyville there in the ex-Robert Rees car. I think he's another driver run by RJ Motorsport as well. Here's another little battle. Stephen Larkham with Miles Drew and Pedro Oliveira. So Larkham and Oliveira both Class A drivers. Miles Drew in the middle of them is one of the Class B protagonists, and he's been a regular in this championship for some time in his Radical SR3 RSX, the driver from Nottinghamshire. And he's stuck in between the two cars with central seat driving positions, the Radical PR6 of Larkham, the Mattel as well of Pedro Oliveira. Meanwhile, Doug Carter still trying to get Andy Fido's 4th place overall, 2nd place within Class A away. Can't quite make that work yet. They're up at Rocket Corner now. And actually that next little group, headed by Larkham, is not too far behind them, is it?
No, not really. If these two start battling, that could bring Stephen Larkham into play, and that would then put him in contention for a class podium, wouldn't it? Because he's in the same class, Class A, same class as the cars directly ahead. Drop down then through the corkscrew there. You can see Keyville getting away. Carter just showing his nose a little bit more now, isn't he? You can probably see that next group behind getting closer and closer by the corner and wants to make this move as soon as he can. But there are only a couple of locations really around the Anglesey Coastal Circuit at which you can realistically make a pass. And I'm just not convinced that that PR6 is quick enough in a straight line to make a move up at Rocket. If he's going to do it, then it begins here potentially with a good run off the banking. Behind there was some side-by-side action. Now that is Miles Drew and Stephen Larkham going at it again. Miles Drew trying to nip up the inside into Church and sort of forces Larkham into taking a wide line. So they will be side-by-side off the corner. The inside line at the top of the hill should belong to Drew. Here, meanwhile, comes around the outside Doug Carter for 2nd place in class. Did he make that one stick? The answer out of the window, I can tell you, is no. Ian, it's all going on behind them. I think we are going to see a positional change. No, not quite, as they head through Rocket. No,
but it is very close indeed between those 3 cars. That's Larkham, Drew and Oliveira. They're not too far behind Fido and Carter. There you can see all 5 of them in the same shot. Look at the car of Miles Drew just sliding around. That's not supposed to happen with a Radical quite like that. It's certainly spectacular to watch, though. Dropping down through the corkscrew towards the end of lap number 7 of the race. Leon Morel's already completed lap 7, by the way. He's nearly 5.5 seconds ahead of everybody else now, and he's done a best lap of the race for 1:06.701. But just focusing in on this battle once again, it was Pedro Oliveira in that Mattel, just having a look up the inside of the much bigger, more unwieldy Radical of Miles Drew, but he was yet to be able to find a way through. Behind them, Andrew Gord, we just saw a brief shot of in 8th place, 9th place I should say, number 60, more or less running on his own.
Back through Church Corner we go, and this time Miles Drew looking in the mirrors perhaps more than he's looking out in front of him, because Pedro Oliveira is getting closer. Doug Carter couldn't get a lot closer really to Andrew Fido, again just trying to get to the inside at Rocket, but Fido covers that one off nicely. Side by side behind, Oliveira around the outside at Rocket in. That could have given him the inside line for Rocket out, but Miles Drew slammed the door in his face and keeps hold of the position. But I said at the start of the day that would be an action hotspot. It's already proving to be the case, but it's not easy to make the overtake up at Rocket. If you go in on the inside line, that puts you automatically on the outside for the second element of Rocket, and that is not really the place you want to be.
Leon Morel's just done another best lap of the race, a 1:06.088. He's gone on to lap 9. I think he'll have 2 more laps to go at the end of this to make it an 11-lap race. Given the dry conditions, getting an extra lap into what I calculated earlier, but he's now leading by more than 6 seconds over Phil Brown in 2nd place. The other thing that's noteworthy is Jamie Keyville has really pulled away quite nicely from Andy Fido and Doug Carter. He's now about 5 seconds ahead of that battle. Of course, he was disputing the class lead with these two not so very long ago.
Back out of Church Corner, Doug Carter continuing to apply the pressure then, and behind Oliveira has a bit of a run on Drew as well. We'll focus on this battle first as they head for the top of the hill, and again Andrew Fido defending that inside line. You can see how much closer Larkham's getting now, and there is Oliveira. He did have a run, he did get alongside Miles Drew, and finally has he got that place back round the outside at Rocket. That's where he lost the position, remember, a number of laps ago, and he learned something from that, put himself on the outside line, and if he doesn't go off the road he'll have gained the place. But you're right, that Mattel not handling right, is it? And he's almost opened the door for Miles Drew to get back at him.
No, and a bit further up, Stephen Larkham, well, I was going to say he's almost closed on the next group, but then all of a sudden, then you've got Oliveira right on his tail as well. So we're almost going to get 5 cars here, aren't we? Battling over 4th position before the end of the race. Only about a lap and a half to go for our race leader, though, Leon Morel. He's already heading up to school for the 10th time in this race. But this is a great fight, a great advert for bike sports, for racing. Of course, these sort of sports prototype type cars with motorcycle engines in them, up to 1.5 litres, quite often the Hayabusa engine. Quite a few of them will be tuned by the likes of RLM, who prepare race engines for championships like this. Now here comes Oliveira in the Mattel, and he's got past Larkham. There's carrying a lot of speed up the hill. Doug Carter, he's going to try and go around the outside of him, but he's going to drive off the road in doing so. Surely not quite, but it did kind of leave the way open for Larkham to find a way back through. He couldn't quite make that work, but so Oliveira's certainly pushing hard. He wants to make up every place that he can in this race, it seems. He's
driving with a lot of confidence for a man who doesn't seem to have a very happily handling car underneath him, shall we say. But it's certainly exciting to watch, and had top-end speed in abundance. Now again tries to get an overlap on Doug Carter heading down through the corkscrew, but I don't think he's quite been able to do it. Tucked up underneath the Radical PR6 as they come across the line to receive the last lap board. So one more lap of the 1.55 mile Anglesey Coastal Circuit to be completed. And here is your race leader, Leon Morel, 4.8 seconds up the road. Phil Brown in second position. Has not been able to live with his pace, and Leon Morel on course for a pretty comfortable race victory. Behind, though, anything but comfortable. All of these positions, Ian, still very much up for grabs.
Yeah, this is 4th overall, 2nd in Class A, being held by Andy Fido still. Leon Morel pushing on still. Here we're going to get a change, are we, for 4th? It's going to be Doug Carter to the outside line. You've got Pedro Oliveira trying to steam up on the inside as well. And Oliveira might sneak through on the inside. He's certainly got ahead of Carter. Can he go all the way around the outside? But for the win, it's Leon Morel who takes the victory here at Anglesey in the first race of the day for the Radical Bike Sports Championship. Phil Brown is second, but Andy, it's all going on for 4th.
Oliveira nearly off the road. Carter goes back through, so he had briefly got ahead of Doug Carter, but then threw it all the way through Peel Corner. I think they're likely going to finish in the positions they were in a lap ago. Off the final turn they will come then. James Keevil has already claimed the victory in Class A. Fido, with 4th place overall, will claim 2nd, with Doug Carter in 3rd position in Class 5th overall. Pedro Oliveira comes home in 6th, and Stephen Larkham 7th. But that was a very entertaining battle in the midfield.
It certainly was, wasn't it? It meant we didn't see an awful lot of what Leon Morel was doing, but he took a very deserving race win indeed by 3.7 seconds. He possibly slightly backed off towards the end of the race because Philip Brown did get that gap down a little bit in 2nd place, and Jamie Keevil, he finished 3rd. He was eventually 10 seconds ahead of that battle, so I think they were really slowing each other up as they were fighting for positions. Andy Fido coming out on top of that scrap, certainly, and it sets things up nicely for the 2nd bike sports race a little bit later on in the day. That's also a 25-minute encounter. That's also got a pit stop in it as well. So we look forward to that. Let's have a look, though, at the results of the first race of the day then. Leon Morel it was that took the win in his Radical SR3 RSX. He completed 11 laps in just over 12 minutes and 22 seconds. He finished 3.7 seconds ahead of number 11, Philip Brown, and 3rd overall and winning his class, Class A, number 19, James Keevil. 4th was number 12, Andy Fido. 5th was number 5, Doug Carter. And 6th was 57th, very hard charging and hard trying, Pedro Oliveira. 7th was number 93, Stephen Larkham. So the man that led the Class A Championship coming into this weekend, only 5th within that class today. Then it was Miles Drew, number 17, in 8th. Number 60, Andrew Gord, was 9th. Richard Hardy, number 66, rounded out the top 10, ahead of Laura Farrow and Ross Board, and they were our only 12 finishers. So another bike sports race to come a little bit later on in the day, and another 11 races still to come this afternoon here at Anglesey Circuit. We look forward to those great variety of cars that we have tin tops and sports cars as well. Let's head down though to Parc Fermé, where Kieran Mogg is ready to speak to our successful drivers at the end of the Radical Bike Sports race.
Yes, thanks very much, guys. Fantastic race to start the day and to start the weekend here in Anglesey. And we're with our class and overall winner, Leon Morel. Leon, you had to time that restart to perfection and you drove a really good race. How was it from your end?
Yeah, the car was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. The track's such a nice track to drive. Really enjoyed that. Obviously, slightly tricky with restarts and stuff, but managed to get a good run out of Church on Phil. And there's just nothing you can do. It's such a long straight and you've got so many different options at the end. So I knew I'd got him somewhere on the brakes, and then just focused on building a gap. Once I got a gap, pulled the revs out of it, saved the engine, saved the tyres. Let's go again in race 2.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously you're currently the championship leader as well, and obviously with the pace that you've demonstrated in the first race, it's surely given the confidence for the second race.
Yeah, I mean, it's all thanks to the support crew I got around me. I've got my family and my friends, and the support from RJ Motorsport is absolutely second to none. I'm so lucky to have their help, yeah, what can you do with the dream team and a good car? You can do results, can't you? So yeah, really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Well, good luck for the later on to the race today.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you very much. And we'll head to our other class winner, James Keeville. James, you had to do a bit of defending there, and then it was just a bit of pace management. How was it?
I can't hear you, sorry.
Sorry, I'll wait for you to get your helmet off, and we'll ask you again. Just getting the strap out of there, it always gets caught, that one. We haven't got enough time, unfortunately. We've got to do the class winners. Yeah, sorry about that. Right, so, yeah, interesting race. Obviously, a good restart and everything, and then you just had to defend a bit, but you managed to get the gap out.
Yeah, it was a bit of a treacherous start, so we avoided all that, luckily. Dropped behind Fido at the start, who was difficult to get past, but once I got past I was able to gap him, and then it was just, yeah, sort of managing the gaps between second and fourth. Brake pedal went a bit long towards the end, so glad the race finished when it did.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously with the race later on today, is there anything that you're kind of thinking you might change, or you're quite happy with how the car is, other than the brake pedal?
Brilliantly, it's going well. Obviously brake issue aside, tyres were good. Yeah, fingers crossed it doesn't rain.
Excellent. Well, fingers crossed. It is Wales. Anything could happen.
It is, yes, but it looks lovely at the moment. So yeah.
Don't jinx it.
Sorry, I will.
Cheers. Thank you very much. All right, we're back in just a second, going to an ad break, and we'll see you in just a minute or two.
So the cars forming up on the grid then for the first race of the afternoon here at Anglesey. It is the 750 Motor Club's Armed Forces Race Challenge, with on pole position Louis Woodward in that very smart BMW M235R, and besides him is number 65, which is Mark White. Second row of the grid, we've got David Russell and Jonathan Candler. Third row, Kieran Lambourne and Paul Chapman. On row 4, it's the car of Phil England and Doug Inglis. Trevor Hancock and Gareth Moss line up on row 5 of the grid. Paul Waterhouse and Mike Nash are on the 6th row. Row 7 of the grid is the car of Richard Brown. Besides him is Ian Coupe. Then it's Harry Townsend and Richard Phillips, Paul Maller and Adam Standry. Then Gemma Barnsdale has Samuel Copeland alongside her, Jack Squires and Luke Arpino. Frank Hall and Andrew Holmes are on the 12th row. As we are about to go racing then, 5-second board has been shown, red lights are going on, and the 20-minute race for the Armed Forces Race Challenge is underway now, and it's a pretty good start from both of the drivers on the front row of the grid, also by Phil England in the Scooby, trying to make a move upon the inside there in that yellow Subaru. He is into 4th position as they turn through target for the first time, but it looks like it is Louis Woodward in that BMW M235R that's got the lead of the race, from Mark White in 2nd, David Russell 3rd. Phil England is in 4th position then as they head out of the banking down towards Church Corner for the first time in this very big grid of cars that we have for the Armed Forces Race Challenge this weekend. Jonathan Candler we could see in the Peugeot 306 sweeping through. He's a man that's very much a front runner in the championship. We'll come on to that in a moment, but the car's heading up towards Rocket Corner for the first time, and such great variety we have in the Armed Forces Race Challenge. We've got Doug Inglis, the perennial Class D front runner in his little Mazda MX-5 there, doing battle with the Clio of Paul Chapman.
Yep, and getting the better of Chapman temporarily, although Paul coming back at him actually out of the second part of Rocket here. The Clio's got the inside line into Peel Corner, and I suspect will go through and may well bring with him actually Gareth Moss in his Mazda MX-5, the Mark 1 specification Mazda MX-5, side by side here with the Mark 2 example as they drop downhill into the corkscrew, and the Mark 1 I think is going to go ahead, sweeping round the outside line. And Gareth Moss will have the inside line for the second part of the corkscrew complex. Actually still hasn't got the move made though, and Doug Inglis coming back at him has the inside line for the final corner. Doug is sideways on the curb on the inside, Gareth sideways on the curb on the outside, and it's Gareth Moss who manages to make the place.
But Inglis keeps the lead in Class D at least. He is in the Class 4, the least powerful cars. There's 4 classes. They're split on power to weight ratio, so cars in Class A up to 300 brake horsepower per tonne. Subsequent classes at 240, 180 and 135 brake horsepower per tonne splits. The 2 cars out in front at the moment, Louis Woodward and Mark White, both in Class B cars actually. First of the Class A cars being Phil England in 4th position, and proving it's not all about power here at Anglesey Circuit. Good battle going on here. That is between Mike Nash, I think, and Paul Chapman in the Clio, and that's Paul Chapman making up his position. He's going up into 7th place into Rocket there, but there was a lock-up, so did he manage to get turned through? No, I don't. He did? Yeah, he did. Okay, he's got through. So that is good news for him. So on lap 2 of this race, as we said, it's a 20-minute race, and with the Armed Forces Race Challenge, although of course all the drivers battling for position on track, the actual points in this championship are awarded based on a performance index, which rewards drivers' consistency throughout the race as well as their overall pace.
It does, but there's still a lot of racing to be done because, of course, to be consistent, you need to be in some clean air. You don't want to be bottled up behind someone that may be slower than you, so there is a fight for track position here in the early stages, and we're seeing that here in the midfield squabbles, heading down towards the corkscrew section of the track. And across the line, they stream with Louis Woodward out in front by 1.8 seconds at the end of that second lap of the race. Through target corner heads the number 187, that was, wasn't it, I think, of Samuel Copeland in his BMW 116i, one of several 116s that we have out on the track. And he's just at the tail end of that group of cars making its way down towards Church Corner. There's a big cloud of smoke and a car, I think, stationary on the exit of the first corner. And it's another of the BMWs. It's a number 4 car. So that is Mel Highland who's gone around and is stationary in the middle of the road.
Yeah, that's a concerning position because obviously it's a blind entrance to that corner. With cars just getting going now, I can see from the commentary box windows. That's a sigh of relief breathed by Mel, and I should think those officials in race control as well, who had their finger hovering over a button, I should think, down on the floor below our commentary position. So another lap completed then, and this is the battle that involves Mike Nash. He's got the number 22 car just behind him as well. That's Paul Mellor in the Caterham 7 for the driver from Seaford down there on the south coast. He's up here on the North Wales coast today. Doug Inglis just behind as well. So it's Mellor that's moved up inside the top 10 during the course of this lap so far.
Yep, across the line comes another good battle then. Mike Nash just starting to slip down the order slightly now. Gareth Moss has found a way past him. That screech of tyres you heard a couple of laps ago at Rocket was the BMW, which has had a bit of contact, I think, hasn't it? The left rear light has been smashed on the number 48 car, which started 12th on the grid. So in fairness, he picked up a good number of positions on the opening lap, running as high as 7th, I believe, at one point, but then slipping backwards. Still sits 3rd in class, though. However, Paul Mellor in the number 22 car behind him, the Caterham 7, is in the same class as well, both of them running within Class B. So this is a fight for class position. 9th overall, but 3rd in class. The BMW has the legs up the hill, but that Caterham, you would imagine, will close in now under braking into Rocket, which it does.
So we're on lap 4 of this race, and it's about being completed by our race leader, who's just over the line now. That's Louis Woodward, who in the number 87 car is pulling away from number 65, Mark White. So Louis Woodward in that very smart BMW, nearly 5 seconds to the good now. It's just in the best lap of the race as well, a 1:16.819, which is inside the lap record for that class, and overall, actually, Mark Inman holding both the Class B and Class A lap records in this category, or he was until just a moment ago when Louis Woodward took those records away from him. Just to explain the championship at the moment, Ben McLaughlin came into this round of the championship leading the way from Jonathan Candler, Adam Dewis, who's not here this weekend, David Russell, who very much is leading the championship. Let's say those points based on performance index from the 2 meetings that we've had so far this season at Brands Hatch and at Alton Park. We're watching here some of the 116s. These often taking part in the Graduates Championship. So, for example, Gemma Barnsdale in the number 44 car, we could see, is one of those competitors. We're switching back now to watch the battle a bit further up the order. This is towards the back end of the top 10. Paul Mellon, having made his way now ahead of Mike Nash, up into 9th position. He has gone. Nash will see if he can do anything about Mellon as he goes up into Rocket Corner, and he's very out of shape there. He's pushing on. He's in danger now of losing a place to Dougie Inglis in car number 6, the Class D leader in that Mazda MX-5. And I think Inglis probably will get him because, he's off on the grass now, is Mike Nash. So I don't know if there's something wrong with that car, if he's just been a bit discombobulated by what went on at Rocket Corner. He is staying in 10th position ahead of Inglis for the moment at least.
Has looked a touch on the wayward side, hasn't it, the number 48 BMW for a number of laps now, so I wonder if there is a handling imbalance, perhaps something broken in the left rear corner. It does, as I said, appear that he's had a bit of a knock on that left rear corner at one point or another. Maybe that's knocked something out in the rear geometry, but anyway, he's under threat now from Doug Inglis as they head for Target Corner. And then the next car behind, the MGB Roadster, isn't it? That's the number 72 car of Andrew Holmes, who started 24th on the grid, and he's already knocking on the door of the top 10 now, closing in quite rapidly on these 2 cars ahead. So that little MGB is going very, very quickly indeed. 12th position overall at the moment, second within its class. It runs in the same class as Phil England's Subaru, which is well up the road, but the MG showing now the pace that clearly it wasn't able to unleash in qualifying.
It's worth saying that's a change of class as well. He's moved into Class A from Class C. So that was a change to what was published in the programme, and good to see the MGB going very strongly here this weekend. Here's Inglis now in the little Class D car, a bit more nimble than Mike Nash. He tries to get up on the inside into the first part of Rocket. Can Nash get back on the power? No, he can't. So it's Inglis now that moves up into the top 10, and now it's the MGB, as you say, that's going to be challenging the blue BMW of Mike Nash for position, although on a slightly straighter bit of circuit, Nash can get the power down and get back ahead of Inglis. Is this going to reverse again as they go through the twisted corkscrew section? I reckon it might, you know. Inglis on the inside for the first part of the corkscrew, and yet he's back in front there where that matters, and you can see that he's sort of now backed up, both Andrew Holmes but also Ian Cooper in the Daewoo Nexia, which is really an Astra GTE with a Daewoo Nexia body shell on it. Here comes Andrew Holmes up the inside of number 48, Mike Nash. Nash trying to keep hold of that position. He's running wide over the curbs there, but I think the MGB is just about going to keep that place as they head around the banking once again.
But of course now we head towards one of the more high-speed areas of the circuit, and the BMW may well come back at him. No, not quite able to as they run down towards Church Corner. And so now the Daewoo comes up to challenge of Ian Cooper right round the outside at Church Corner, takes to the curb a little bit, but actually did well to stay within track limits there. And the pair run door to door up the hill. But ultimately, the BMW will have the legs in acceleration. The braking, though, the Daewoo much later. Too late, loses control altogether. And Cooper onto the grass and was heading towards the barrier. Did well to get the car stopped. But now Ian Cooper has to wait until there is a gap in the traffic. Just about finds one and gets back underway. But that was just locking up the rear brakes. An easy mistake to make up there. And luckily, no damage done.
As we're watching Jonathan Candler in the number 1 car, he's in 6th position overall, try and cut his way through some of these slower BMW 116s that often take part in the Graduate Cup. Candler, I say, 6th position overall, he's 3rd within Class C at the moment. He is the man that's 2nd in the championship. He's the reigning champion from last year. He's a very experienced competitor now in these cars, the 31-year-old from Tidworth. He's a HGV mechanic, but also an Army reservist as well. Been racing in since 2015. Also on the ovals as well as on the circuits as well. This is the 44 car. That's Gemma Barnsdale. She's got Charlie Spice just behind her, and there's a floppy marker that's at some point in this race gone for a Burton, now lying in the middle of the circuit.
We've also lost into the pit lane, I'm afraid. Trevor Hancock in the number 16 Peugeot. He pulled in a minute or two ago. So the number 16 Peugeot out of the race, the 206 GTI. With mechanical dramas of some sort, so that's a bit of a shame. He was running inside the top 10 earlier on, although had faded over the first half of the race. We've got 9 minutes of the 20 to go, so we're into the second half of the race, and Louis Woodward still leads by 4.5 seconds over Mark White out in front. White being reeled in, though, I'd say slightly now by David Russell. Russell on the previous couple of laps has been a tenth or so quicker than the Honda Civic Type R. There is the Honda Civic Type R. Oh, charging its way through traffic. This perhaps is why he's been losing some time. That was a very close call with Richard Brown's Toyota MR2, who thankfully saw him coming, but that was a crucial move to make, because now look at the way that David Russell is himself getting held up in the traffic, and this should now allow Mark White to further extend his margin.
Into the pits comes Gareth Moss. He was inside the top 10 early on in the race, but the number 26 Mazda MX-5 Mark 1, I can see from our commentary box now, pulling out of the race. That's the 14 car we had a brief look at on screen, and that is the car that is, I'm trying to figure out where that is in the order. It is in 21st position. That's Peter McNichol, the driver from Mablethorpe, another driver from a coastal resort, but from the wrong side of the country for Anglesey. There's the Treble 4 car, which is that of Richard Phillips, the driver from Plymouth. He's in 18th position overall and 4th in Class D. Dougie Inglis still leading that class. Class C being led by David Russell. Class B by the overall leader Louis Woodward, and Class A by Phil England in the Subaru. 7.5 minutes or so of this race to go, Andy. We're on to lap 10 of it now.
Yeah, and Louis Woodward dropped quite a chunk of time on that previous lap. Now, I'm almost certain it would have been traffic related, but he's got more traffic ahead now as he heads through the Rocket Complex. That gap that was up towards about 5 seconds at one point, down to 3.2 now, back to Mark White, who did indeed extend his margin over David Russell. So it will ebb and it will flow as they come across back markers. If you catch a back marker up the back straight, it should cost you minimal time. If you catch them through the corkscrew or rocket or right on the apex perhaps at Church Corner, that can cost you quite a bit of time, and it's why these gaps keep on fluctuating. You can see here, I think Mark White has taken a bit more time out of Louis Woodward this time. Let's compare the lap times then. Woodward in the BMW crosses the timing line with a 1 minute 19.6. Mark White does a 1:18.9, so another 7/10 gain. The gap now down to 2.5 seconds, but there is a bit more clear track perhaps in the distance. Louis Woodward will be grateful, I think, to get out of this group of back markers.
I should think he will be. And who was that had a spin? It was the number 88 car, Adam Stanbury, the driver from Crediton, one of the Graduate Cup protagonists. So there is Mark White. And let's not forget, Mark White has won all 4 races that have happened so far this season at Brands Hatch and Alton Park as well. He's not had Louis Woodward to contend with really so far this season. I think Louis has probably been developing this car. Maybe if Kieran gets the chance to speak to us after this race, we can find out a little bit more about the car, because it's certainly interesting to see that as White almost overcooks it as he's trying to go past the number 230 car of Paul Waterhouse there in his Peugeot. There's the gap to the leader, and there is the race leader. 2.5 seconds it was at the start of the lap, and I suspect it's still a similar kind of gap now as we're into the final 6 minutes, so probably final 5 laps or so of this race. He's got his lights flashing to let the slower car know to get out of the way. And I say slower car, it's actually Mike Nash, isn't it, that he's indicating he'd like to get out of the way. And Mike Nash at the moment is running in 11th position, so he's already now lapped everyone up to and including 11th place. And
sensibly, I think, gave Mike Nash a wide berth there, because Mike's car has been a bit tail happy, hasn't it, at times, but Mike did his best to stay out of the way as well, it must be said. Gap down by another 4/10 that time, so Mark White is keeping the pressure on. Again, there's more traffic up the road now for the race leader to deal with. In fact, this is going to be the next car that the leader has to find a way past, and that's the 444 BMW, I think, isn't it, of Richard Phillips, about to go a lap down, perhaps a second lap down actually. So this is not over yet. We've still got 5 minutes of the race to go, and Louis Woodward cannot really afford now to be losing too much more time over the next couple of laps. Meanwhile, for 5th position, good battle here between the BMW of Kieran Lambourne and the little Peugeot of Jonathan Jonathan Candler, this for 5th position overall, but Ian, 2nd in class.
Yeah, that's right. It's a nice little fight, this, as you say, for 5th and 6th position overall. They're making their way out of the banking towards Church Corner. So you've got Kieran Lambourne, number 7, 25-year-old from Carlton. He's a plant operator and mechanic, only his 2nd year of racing. He's moved up to this season, to this 330 from the Graduates Cup. And it's got a 3-litre M54 engine, this car. And compared, of course, to the Peugeot 306 GTI of Jonathan Candler. So different types of car, but very evenly matched, it would seem, around here. Looking at the lap time so far in this race, Candler actually slightly quicker with a 120... no, beg your pardon, Lambourne slightly quicker with a 121.073, whereas Candler's best lap was actually on the last lap at 121.246. Only really a couple of tenths in it around this 1.5 mile long circuit.
Lead gap back out again that time, by the way, so 1.2 seconds quicker was Louis Woodward in clean air, presumably. Now, there is a surface flag out at the corkscrew, and this, I suspect, is why. There's a bit of bodywork. I think I've had a couple of bits of bodywork I can see out of the window offline through the final corner, but as we've seen, particularly with back markers, they are being overtaken quite a lot through that corner, so they've got to be mindful of that if they go out wide, trying to stay out of the way. But as I said, it's off the racing line, only 3 minutes to go. It shouldn't pose too much of an issue for the drivers, including Kieran Lambourne and Jonathan Candler battling over this 2nd position within Class C. And the big rear-wheel drive BMW, the little front-wheel drive Peugeot, 2 completely different cars, generating their lap time in completely different ways, but over the course of a lap, very little to choose between them. The BMW not even actually visibly any quicker in a straight line. And if anything, Candler closes in slightly, heading up the school straight. Onto the brakes into Rocket, where there's a similar car actually just ahead, another Peugeot 306. This one, though, going a lap down, and this is allowing Candler to close right in on the BMW. Is there a gap up the inside into Peel Corner? He's thinking about it, but Kieran Lambourne just manages to move over to cover. It's the 64 Peugeot 306 of Harry Townsend that they're coming up to lap, as a big group of cars. Ian does battle across the timing line as well.
Yeah, one of them was very much off the circuit there on the exit of the corkscrew. They've both cleared that number 64 car of Harry Townsend, these 2 battling for 5th position and 2nd within Class C. They're just about to come up and over the line. Now you can see some of that bodywork that's on the circuit. Candler gets a good run out of the corkscrew and into target. Start of a new lap, but it's not quite enough, I don't think, to find a way through past Kieran Lambourne. Now, the danger here, of course, when you're looking for consistency, these 2 are probably now just slowing each other up a little bit, battling as they are. Yeah, lapping in the 123s and 124s on the last lap compared to 121s that they were doing. So this not really doing them any favours in terms of their consistency of lap times, where basically the total time is divided by their fastest lap to see how consistent they are on average.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because, of course, Kieran Lambourne, Jonathan Candler will say that he would be quicker if he got past Kieran Lambourne, but in getting past, he could end up losing too much time and losing that consistency. So it is a difficult one. There's also, of course, the fact that they're out on track, they're in a race, and sometimes that kind of thought goes out the window, doesn't it? They just want to race each other. This is the part of the circuit where the Peugeot seems quicker, though, and this time looks to me like Candler's got a proper overlap into Peel Corner, but Kieran Lambourne carries a lot of speed into Peel, a bit too much speed in all honesty, drifts out wide, so Candler has another overlap heading over the hill towards the complex, but no, not quite enough of one. The BMW stays in front, and yes, this is definitely now starting to lose them quite a bit of time. On the previous lap, they were 2.5 seconds slower than they had been earlier on in the race. They come off the final corner. Candler again gets a decent exit from the turn, but not quite good enough this time to get alongside.
Yeah, it's the Army Sports Car Racing prepared BMW against the Lionheart Racing prepared Peugeot, which is basically Jonathan and his dad preparing that Peugeot for racing. They're coming up to lap. I think that's the 444 car of Richard Phillips, who's in 17th position. We're into the last 26 seconds of this race now. I think we're probably going to get one more lap to go at the end of this one. Yes, the last lap board is now being hung out to the race leader. There he is on screen now, just going through. That's Louis Woodward. His gap to White now is 2.892 seconds, so it's still hovering at that 2.5, 3 second mark on the last lap. It was White, though, who was about 0.8 of a second faster. Don't think, though, Andy's going to be able to do anything about the race leader.
No, and again, I suspect that was really because the leader was in a little bit of lap traffic, which held him up partway round that previous lap, but Louis got absolutely no traffic to worry about on this, his final lap of the race, so it should be smooth sailing from here. You cannot say the same, though, for Kieran Lambourne, who has another lap and a bit yet to try and defend this 5th position overall, second in Class C. Sweeps around the outside of another of the 116s there, heading down the hill, as at the top of the hill, Louis Woodward, now only a few corners from home.
He is indeed, and he's gone really well in this race. He's, as far as we've seen, not really put a foot wrong, has he? He's been out in front from the start. Mark White, who's been victorious in the previous 4 rounds and has often been successful in these Armed Forces Race Challenge events, he's not been able to do anything about Louis Woodward on this particular occasion. Through the corkscrew then for the final time, just really one more corner to go. Then it's the relatively short run to the finish line. Checkered flag is made ready, and there it is. Louis Woodward wins for the first time this season in the Armed Forces Race Challenge. Mark White it is that takes second place on the road in the Honda Civic. Then it's a fairly decent gap back to David Russell in third, and I think Phil England will take fourth. There's Russell coming through, Phil England a bit further back. Let's see, though, if we can see if that battle for fifth is still to be resolved between Kieran Lambert and Jonathan Candler. It's going to be sorted out up at Rocket with a back marker involved as well. Candler gets up on the inside of Kieran Lambourne and takes the place.
Yeah, that was the part of the circuit where he's looked strong anyway, and then Lambourne getting delayed by that back marker, 3 abreast through the second part of Rocket. That was pretty brave, actually, there from Candler to stick the little Peugeot into that gap, and it looks as though it's going to reward him with 5th position and second in Class C. Lambourne trying to close back in again as they drop down through the corkscrew, but I'm not convinced that he will get there. Candler gets off the final corner well and will weave in celebration as he brings the number 1 Peugeot across the line and claims 5th position. Brilliant battle.
It was a great battle. I think it did mean something to him. We could see the celebrations. He didn't have them, the gestures of a man who's thinking about his performance index score there. He was just thrilled to have such a great battle decided right at the end. The 2 drivers going either side of Gemma Barnsdale's 116. It looks like just one more car to cross the line to finish their race. That's now happened. That was Paul Mellor in the Caterham in 8th position, and everybody else has already made it home for the first of 2 races today for the Armed Forces Race Challenge. It's their 3rd event of 5 that they have during the course of this season. They'll be heading to other circuits before the end of the year. They go to Snetterton in August and Croft in September to round out the year, and then many of these competitors will be taking part in the Burkitt 6-hour relay race at Silverstone at the end of October as well. So we'll in a moment bring you the results classification at the end of what was a 16-lap race, and it was won by number 87 Louis Woodward in 21 minutes 4.750 seconds, 3.507 seconds ahead of number 65 Mark White in second place. David Russell was 3rd overall, and I think for the 5th time this season a Class C winner. Phil England, he took 4th place overall, and again another victory for him in Class A this season. Jonathan Candler was 5th, Kieran Lambourne 6th, Paul Chapman 7th, Paul Mellor 8th, then Douglas Inglis took 9th position, and he won Class D once again ahead of Andrew Holmes in the MGB. The championship leader coming into this weekend, Ben McLaughlin in his Clio, number 96 was 11th, 48 Mike Nash in the BMW was 12th, then it was Ian Cooper, despite that moment at Rocket in the day, he was 13th, and Paul Waterhouse in the Peugeot 306 was in 14th position. A bit further back down the order, we can see Luke Arpino, Samuel Copeland, Richard Phillips, Harry Townsend, Richard Brown and Pete McNichol. They completed the top 20, and there was a whole host of the 116Is taking part in the Graduate Cup as well. So that's the result then of the first of 2 races today for the Armed Forces Race Challenge. We've got 10 more races to come for you today. Up next it's going to be more 116s actually, because it's the 116 Sprint Series and the 120 Coupe Cup. So 2 different types of BMW on the grid for that one. But before that, let's head down to the podium area where Kieran Mogg is ready to speak to our successful drivers.
Thanks very much, guys. I'm down here with our race winner, Louis Woodward. That was quite an immense race for you there, trying to manage the gap. How was it out there?
Yeah, no, it was a bit different to qualifying this morning, which was wet. Yeah, just managing the gap. He was there keeping me honest, and just really enjoyed the race. And all the guys here in the AFRC, I raced last year with a 116 and a 120 Coupe. And obviously come this year with the 235. But yeah, it's a great bunch of guys, so really pleased.
Yeah, definitely. Ian up in the commentary was talking about this really nicely prepared car you've got here, and he wanted me to ask you a question about it, and just basically just talk us around it, explain what you've done with this car.
Well, it's actually a BMW motorsport car. You could buy them like it. Lucky enough to get our hands on it and use it for this season. So yeah, we're just still learning with it. Everything's new, so we're just getting to grips with it and seeing where we're going. We've entered road sports and club enduro, did okay there. Haven't let ourselves down, so yeah, no, it's good, it's going well.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yes, thank you. We're going to speak to our class winner as well, David Russell. David, third place overall. Are you pleased with that?
Yeah, pleased with it. I think it's where I should be, so I'm pleased that I managed to deliver on that. And what a drive from Louis. Yes, okay, it's a gun to a knife fight, but it still takes a good driver to drive it around, and nobody's getting near him. You know, he can pedal, and Chalky again was gone in the distance, so I was kind of a little bit in no man's land really. But all in all, good race.
And how are you feeling ahead of the next race in terms of, are you getting used to the circuit? How's the track conditions out there?
So compared to qualifying, this is perfect. Personally, I'm not a fan of Anglesey. I know that might be a bit controversial, but I'm getting more and more used to it. But it's trying to get through the traffic and not ruining other people's races. But all in all, great race.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on your class win.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. Now, we do have two more class winners, but unfortunately, the 116s have just gone out, and I believe they're about to start. So, a quick ad break, and back in just a second.
So the cars on the grid then for the third race of the 750 Motor Club weekend. It's the 116 Sprint Trophy and the 120 Coupe Cup. So I think we've got something like 5 of the 120s on the grid here today, as well as you can see lots and lots of 116. I think we've got 26 cars in all as they're now heading off on their green flag lap ahead of what will be a 15-minute race. There's 2 15-minute races today for these cars. Of course, there's the 90-minute 116 trophy race tomorrow as well. But let's see how they're going to line up for this one. Pole position, that has gone the way of the very experienced driver Rob Carvel, number 59 XVW Cup racer. He has next to him the number 5 car of Anthony Seddon. Those are both 120s. Then we've got the first of the 116s. Bear in mind it was a bit damp for qualifying, so let's see how things pan out in the race. There might be a few cars out of position here. Ethan Hall, though, in number 25, has Matt Priestwood, number 173, besides him. On the third row of the grid, it's 555, Matthew Highcock. He's been winning races in the 116 trophy as well this season, and 151, Peter Keane. On row 4 of the grid, welcome back number 21, Harry Ormerod, and he has next to him the car of number 86, Pete Brand. Row 5 is 43 and 187, that's Victoria Babb and George Heller. Row 6 of the grid, 71 is Jack Godden, and 48 is Daniel Scott. On the 7th row of the grid, it's 209, that's Will Abraham, a bit further back on the grid than I might have expected to find him. 89 is Freddie Tatham. Then it's the 101 car of Ben Wilshire, and 10, which is Paul White. In row 9 is 220, Neil Fox, and 47, Connor Anderson. Onto row 10 of the grid, you've got the 121 car of AJ Duffel and treble 8, David Hudson. The 11th row, 232, Jonathan Baker, and 186, Carl Petters. The 12th row is 82, James Cannon, and 34, Toby O'Reilly, and 2 more cars on the back. Number 8, John Turner, and number 30, which is Lewis Charlton. So that's the way the grid should line up for this race. As we say, we've got 2 in 1 because we've got the 120 Coupe Cup cars, which will be a little bit quicker than the 116 trophy spec cars in they're having their sprint races today, and we'll see how if they're able to get away as this race goes on. So far this season, within the 120s, it has been Anthony Seddon that took both of the victories at Silverstone from Rob Carvel, but there's a few more of the cars out this weekend. And among the 116s, I can tell you, the victories so far this season have been 1 to Matt Priestwood, 1 to Peter Keane and 2 to Will Abraham. We briefly had an onboard shot there with the number 55 car, which I think is that of Lewis Charlton, who's starting at the back of the grid. We've got another onboard camera, that's number 86, which is Pete Brand, who starts a bit further up on the grid. He is on row 8. And also the treble 8 car of David Hudson, and he lines up on row 10 of the grid. So we've got cars sort of middle of the grid and towards the back as well. We'll enjoy these onboard shots as the race goes on. But the red lights now are on, and they go out, and the 15-minute race gets underway here at Anglesey, and it's the 59 car of Rob Carvel that's going to have the lead of the race, then from number 5, Anthony Seddon, as they turn their way through target for the first time. And already those 120s, they're just scooting off a little bit away from the 116s. I think there's about 2 or 3 more 120s that just need to find their way through the pack. As I say, it was demanding conditions for qualifying, really greasy. And so possibly some of those 120s that didn't qualify so well might come into their own as the race goes on. There was one going wide there on the exit of the banking, but all was well. Car got back onto the circuit. I think it was this turquoise car that was coming through that was off the road momentarily, which we'll try and work out who that was in just a moment. But look at the sight of these cars make their way through that kink past the racing school, up towards Rocket they go. That's the 151 car, which is Peter Keane, who's living up to his name, isn't he? As he's alongside Matt Priestwood there through the Rocket for the first time. So coming towards the end of the first lap of this race, Andy, some good battling among the 116s, but it was the 120s of Rob Carvel and Anthony Seddon that were to the fore.
And George Heeler as well, also trying to move through the order in his 120 there, the number 187 car. I'm going to assume the same George Heeler that I saw racing in TCR UK on occasion last year, making a switch to BMW this season as they make a brilliant sight there, flooding down through the corkscrew. Here's the battle then for the 116 class, if you like, and it's all getting very entertaining coming out of the final corner. A couple of interesting interpretations of track limits there, but that class, if you like, being led by Ethan Hall, third overall, then Mac Priestwood, and then running a bit wide there was Peter Keane, I think, who you said was making a move up the back straight, nearly lost control coming out of turn 1, but just about managed to gather it together. And then a bit of a gap back to the next group of cars, which is led by Harry Ormerod. He made a really good start, did Harry Ormerod, went to the inside into turn 1, then got sort of boxed in, so he, I think, is going to be keen to try and move forward from there.
There's the 2 leaders though, Rob Carvel out in front. He's been a race in the 116 trophy as well, but probably best known still for racing in the VW Cup in a Golf for many, many years. And he's just about seeing off the challenge here from Anthony Seddon in number 5 at the moment. Seddon, the 2-time winner at Silverstone last time out. He's going to try and get up on the inside of Carvel into Peel this time, and I think he's just about done it. But of course the next corner is the left-hander at the corkscrew, so Carvel will try and come back at him on the inside line there, but it's then left, right, and then left sequence of bends, and I think it's probably going to be Seddon that comes out of that sequence in the lead of the race. Yes, he is. As I'm just going to view them out of my commentary box window just before we can see them on screen there. It's Seddon that's got the move done.
Yep, so good stuff that from Anthony Seddon. Pretty aggressive, wasn't it, really? Sort of dived for the apex at Peel Corner, got the move made, but now does he have the pace to pull away? That's the real question. Behind them, by the way, George Heeler. He's dropping down the timing tower. That's because of a dodgy transponder. I can tell you he's actually up to 4th on the road now, is George Heeler. And there he does now get reinstated into 4th position, so he's nearly into the top 3 as one car is desperately late on the brakes. Was that Matthew Hycott?
Matt Priestwood, who was trying to get 3rd place back. He'd briefly lost it to George Heeler, I think.
No, I think it was
no,
the
you're right.
behind, wasn't it? Yeah, Heeler, you're right, was under pressure from Matt Priestwood. In fact, has gone past Priestwood.
Yes.
It was
Peter
the
Keane.
555 car I saw going wide. Matthew Hycott battling with Peter Keane, but very late on the brakes into the banking there.
Absolutely right. So you've got Peter Keane and Matt Hycott doing battle here, just ahead then of George Heeler now, although they're in the 116s and rather than the 120s, slightly larger capacity, but there's not a lot to choose between them around Anglesey, I don't think. There you've got Pete Brand as well, up on the inside of the 21 car of Harry Ormerod, who is returning to the 116s this weekend. Matt Priestwood, though, the best of the 116s in this race at the moment and the best in the championship, I can tell you. Now let's go on board with Pete Brand, who was in the thick of this battle in number 86. You get a nice view of the mountains. This is what we mean by the drivers being distracted by the view on the run down towards the corkscrew. But he's got other things to focus on just ahead of him. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 cars, certainly, immediately in his sights as well.
Yep, out of the final corner, then rides up over the curb. You can see the camera shaking aggressively as he goes over those serrated curbs. It's not a pleasant experience as a driver, but you want to use as much of the racetrack as you can. Obviously not too much, otherwise you will start to get yourself in some track limits trouble, but you seem to be judging that well on that occasion. Down the banking they stream them off towards Church Corner, and this group of cars then battling for 9th place, I think, aren't they? Pete Brand at the front of the group, Harry Ormerod behind him. And I don't think Harry's quite going to be close enough to challenge this time as they head up to the top of the hill. What's going on in the group ahead? Well, we are going to have some positional changes here, I reckon. That's the 43 of Victoria Babb trying to get up the inside into Rocket, but actually not quite late enough on the brakes. And so Ethan Hall manages to hang on. You can run wide into that first part of Peel. It gives you the inside line for the right-hander, and it makes it a little bit easier to defend, although much better exit out of the second part of the Rocket complex for Victoria, and the number 43 car does now move ahead.
She does indeed, and she is now heading back down towards the corkscrew once again. She's from Brighton, and 61 years of age, a car saleswoman in her first race meeting, and she's in an Anthony Seddon Racing prepared 120, and acquitting herself very well indeed, I must say here. There is the 55 car doing battle with 48s. That's Lewis Charlton and Daniel Scott. Lewis Charlton, that car started at the back of the grid, so it has made progress up the order, up inside the top 12 actually now, so that's been a very good start to the race for Lewis Charlton. And he's made a lot of progress during the course of this race so far. Out front, by the way, Seddon is still leading from Rob Carvell with just about a second between them, but we're looking at this battle a little bit further back, and we go on board there, that number 55 car.
Yep, heading up the hill then towards the braking zone at Rocket, and Charlton, is he going to try and make a move at the inside? Thinks about it, but not quite close enough, I don't think, to commit to the manoeuvre on this occasion. But good view here of just how technically demanding this circuit is, and the effort the drivers put into wringing the neck of these cars, dragging them through the tight sequence of corners at Rocket, and then in towards Peel Corner again, closing in on the group of cars ahead. Over the crest of the hill, down towards the corkscrew. Is there a move to be made here? Maybe around the outside into the first part of the corkscrew, but no, doesn't quite get the overlap into the second part. So the positions stay as they were. At the front of the field, meanwhile, the last 2 laps in a row, the gap has come down slightly between Rob Carvell and Anthony Seddon. And is down now to 0.8 of a second as finally this move is made that was coming for about a lap or so. Lewis Charlton up the inside and moves into 11th place at target corner. But yeah, that lead gap just starting to creep back down again.
Yeah, of course, Charlton is in one of the 120, so expected really to be able to pick his way through the field a little bit. Some track limits warnings going out, including to Ethan Hall, who was leading the 116 division in the early stages of the race. He's dropped back down to 7th overall, and I think 3rd within that class behind Priestwood and Highcock. Back on board we go with Lewis Charlton in that number 55 car then. He was just behind Harry Ormerod at the start of the lap, trying to break into the top 10. Driving style, as flags can see, flying beneath our commentary position. Certainly we'd seen warning for at least one of the drivers there, Ethan Hall. And now we're on board number 86, which is Pete Brand, and that's the 55 car now that's got ahead of him, hasn't it? So 55 has gone through, and that will be for 9th position, therefore, that Lewis Charlton now finds himself, as they have 6.5 minutes of this race left to go.
Yep, so a couple more places gained then as they drop down the hill here. The leaders gap down by another 0.2 actually that time. So that's 3 laps in a row now that Rob Carvell has been quicker than Anthony Seddon, and that was another new fastest lap for Carvell, a 1 minute 23.195. Which, needless to say, will be a lap record for these particular cars anyway around the Anglesey Coastal circuit. Out of Church Corner they go. The gap, if anything, just creeping up slightly in the first half of the lap. Worth pointing out, Seddon still put in a personal best last time around as well. So, okay, Carvel closing in, but Seddon is not going slowly, that's for sure. But he has outbraked himself into Rocket. That will certainly benefit Carvel, who is now right on his rear bumper as they turn out of Rocket 2 and up towards Peel Corner. So Carvel forcing a couple of little mistakes out of Seddon now, and with still 5.5 minutes to go, has time to try and get this lead back.
Yeah, very good racing between these two. Carvel just plugging away, taking a 10th here, 2/10 there, out of Seddon's advantage. Soon going to be back into striking distance though, isn't he, where it's going to be really challenging, in a position to make moves on the race leader. They come through now, 5.25 minutes to go. They're probably going to get 4 more laps out of this, I would think, turning their way through the corner. And this is Peter Keane and Ethan Hall. So that's Keane just getting the place away. That's third within that class, and the side-by-side with the 55 car of Lewis Charlton as well, who we go on board with at the corkscrew. He was on the right-hand side of the circuit. I think the battling is going on to his left as things stand, and actually just behind him as well. Peter Keane and Ethan Hall, I can see they're over the line now. Ethan Hall carrying a bit more speed out of the corner, but probably not enough to challenge Peter Keane once again. So in the 116s, it's Priestwood, Highcock and Keane, and we've now got the 120s in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 7th positions.
Yep, so there is that Mac Priestwood and Matthew Highcock battle just heading through there, Church Corner. Priestwood still ahead of Highcock then, 5th and 6th overall. Then it's Lewis Charlton, then Peter Keane versus Ethan Hall. And Ethan Hall was trying his best to try and find a way through at the banking there. Here, though, is the battle between the top two 116s. Is Matthew Highcock going to think about a move into Rocket? Yes, he is. Commits to the inside line, gets the car stopped just about. And that was a brilliant outbraking manoeuvre there from Matthew Highcock, up ahead of Matt Priestwood and into 5th place.
He's yet to have a win in the sprint series this season, isn't Matthew Highcock, although he's been successful in the 116 Trophy endurance races. Priestwood's had a win. Well, Abraham's had a couple. Peter Keane's had a win as well. But we're yet to see Matt Highcock have one, so it wouldn't be a major surprise if he got one today. Meanwhile, Anthony Seddon, you can see on screen, he's just done the best lap of the race in the 120s. He's into the 122s, and as a result, the gap back to Rob Carvel is now back out over 1 second, but it's under a second between the two 116 trophy leaders who go across the line. Matt Priestwood will try and find a way back through ahead of Matthew Highcock. Yeah,
good battle this. I don't think Highcock's that much quicker than Priestwood, so Matt will certainly be thinking about how best to try and get that place back again. Maybe with a good exit from the banking, a strong run through Church, and then a bit of a slipstream up the hill. That is the place to try and make a move, really, isn't it? Down towards Church Corner they go. Mac Priestwood is about 3 BMW 116 lengths behind as they turn into the corner, but seemed to maybe carry a bit more speed off the turn. Yeah, that gap is creeping down again up the hill, so Priestwood, I think, might be close enough to have a go at doing to Highcock what Highcock did to him a lap ago. He peaks to the inside line, what will become the inside line anyway. That route is shut off to him, though, so Mac has to go to the outside line and tries to force a mistake maybe out of Highcock, which he has. Highcock goes straight on, and for the second lap in succession, the class lead changes at Rocket.
It does indeed, so it's Matthew Highcock, the man from Halifax, back into the lead of the race then from Highcock, the man from Stockport. He is in 2nd place now, but we've still got probably a couple of laps to go for these cars. They're both a fair distance ahead of the next 116. They are about 6 seconds or so clear of Peter Keane, who is 3rd within that class. They've got this car in between them. That's the 55 car of Lewis Charlton. And he's lapping a little bit faster than them, of course, by around about a second or so per lap. So he's probably just about going to catch them by the end of the race. Both of them exploring as much as they possibly can of track limits. There, we're going to get a move, are we, on the inside at the banking? This is Highcock up on the inside there, side by side, all the way through that right-handed hairpin. It's another right-hander next. That's the fast sweeping Church Corner. They've both, I'm sure, got their foot to the floor here, because it's flat out really through Church Corner in an underpowered car like this, and they are still door handle to door handle all the way through Church Corner, out of Church Corner, past the school building, and it's just a nose in front for Highcock, but he's on the outside line. We're going to get another change of move at Rocket. I don't even know who's ahead really going into it, so it's hard to tell. They have been absolutely insufferable for 2/3 of a lap now, all the way around all of those corners, and just Matthew Highcock has come out in front on the exit of Rocket, but for how long?
That was fantastic racing, wasn't it? Matthew Highcock managing to stay in front, but that was all really started with that real banzai move up the inside into the banking. He used the banking to get the car stopped and then just ran side by side all the way up the back straight, getting a bit of a side draft from each other. It was brilliant racing. They're being caught, of course, now, aren't they, by Lewis Charlton as well. Now, that could be a bit of a fly in the ointment if he gets there before the checkered flag. They go through to start what I think should be the final lap of the race. 30 seconds to go, and the overall race leaders heading towards Rocket.
Yeah, and I was going to say they were a bit closer. We're looking at now, Anthony said, in the lead, but the gap has strung out a little bit since they came off the banking. So it was half a second at the start of the lap, but I think Rob Carvel's lost a little bit of time to Anthony Seddon during the course of the first 2/3 of this lap. Now they're up at Rocket Corner, out of Rocket Corner towards Peel. And then it's just Peel and the corkscrew to go. And I think that Anthony Seddon is probably going to make it 3 wins in a row in the 120 Coupe Cup. He was successful at Silverstone in May. And it looks like he's going to add a victory here in the first of 2 races today at Anglesey. Out of the final corner he comes. He's going to take the win. I think it's still to be decided in the 116s. It's Priestwood ahead, but he runs wide this time up at the Rocket left-hander. But there's the win in the 120s for Anthony Seddon by 0.6 of a second over Rob Carvel. It should be George Healer that comes home in 3rd place. It looks like Highcock's going to do it. Oh, there's a big sideways moment for Healer coming out of the corkscrew as he secures 3rd place. It looks like the 116s had sorted themselves out with Highcock ahead of Priestwood. Yeah, here they come. They've got Lewis Charlton right behind them as well. Only a corner to go, but it's going to be Highcock that's going to come through to take his first victory of the season in the 116 Sprint Series. And it's going to be Matt Priestwood who's 2nd within that class and 6th overall, I should say. And Lewis Charlton just can't quite get ahead of Priestwood for a top 6 outright finish as they go across the line.
Well, fantastic racing that, wasn't it? The 116 Sprint Trophy in particular. Reasonably good battle between Seddon and Carvel, but Seddon just sort of controlled the race once he hit the front. Behind him, though, anything but controlled, wasn't it, really? That battle between Highcock and Priestwood, but brilliant, squeaky clean racing. No contact between the two of them. That is exactly what we like to see. And Matt Priestwood threw everything at that on the final lap, but just couldn't quite get the car stopped up at the top of the hill at Rocket. But certainly 10 out of 10 for effort, and those two put on quite a show. Really looking forward to race 2.
Yeah, absolutely right, and it means that gap has narrowed in the championship. Matthew Highcock, who was 9 points behind Matt Priestwood coming into this race, so that gap will have fallen down. Will Abraham, I don't think he actually started that race, did he, looking at it? No, I don't see him on the timing screen. Or did he? You're pointing to it. 11th, beg your pardon, he did, but he was 2nd in the championship coming into this weekend, so a bit disappointing for him. It was the 120s that dominated at the front of the field, though they're not part of the championship, they're just doing it for fun. Anthony Seddon it was, number 5, that took the winner at the end of 11 laps by 0.622 seconds over Rob Carvel, number 59, in 2nd place. George Healer, 187, was 3rd. Victoria Bamp, 43, was in 4th place. Then it was the first of the 116 cars, which was Matthew Highcock. He was ahead of number 173, Matt Priestwood, who completed the top 6. Then it was another 120 for 55 Lewis Charlton, ahead of the 116s of 151 Peter Keane, 25 Ethan Hall, and 86 Pete Brandt, who rounded out the top 10 ahead of, yes, Will Abraham, he certainly was there, wasn't he, ahead of Harry Ormerod, Freddie Tatham and Paul Whiten. A bit further back, Jack Gordon, he was 15th, ahead of Ben Wilshire, Daniel Scott, Jonathan Baker, David Hutton, and rounding out the top 20 was Connor Anderson. And there's another race for the 116 Sprint Trophy and 120 Coupe Cup at the end of the afternoon, or dare I say evening. It's scheduled to start at 10 to 7, that race. It's a long afternoon of racing here at Anglesey Circuit, but a shorter day tomorrow, all being well. So we've got 9 races left to go today. Next up, we're going to be one of the highlights of the weekend for me. It's the Dunlop Mini Miglia Championship, but down in Parc Fermé, we're ready to go to Kirranmog.
It's a bit manic down here, but we are down here, and what a race, what an absolute race. We're going to quickly go and chat to our race winner, Anthony Seddon. If we just dash over here just a second, and if we can just bump in here. Anthony, What a race! You had to really defend that one. How was it?
It was fantastic. It was a great race. Thank you very much. I was pushed by Rob here all the time, kept honest. I just had to keep at it, and it kind of ebbed and flowed. I was having trouble with the rear tyres at one point, and sort of managed it. And then I could see Rob struggling on a bend, and it was just a great race. Thank you very much.
It's always great, isn't it, to have that clean, good, fair racing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, always give an inch.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you. And as you're here, we'll have a quick word with you as well. Fantastic race, nice and clean.
It was.
Not
really
quite.
enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a really good race. So lots of effort and energy into that race, and any mistakes were punished, which is how it should be. So Anthony's got this one, but I'm going to get him back for that.
Look forward to seeing that then.
Thank you.
Cheers, thank you. Now we'll go and speak to our class winner in the 116s. If we can just go and find Matthew Highcock. If I can just squeeze past you, gentlemen, sorry. I don't know where he is. I think he's all the way somewhere at the back. His car is the 555 just there. I don't know where he's gone though. I don't think he's in the car. He's not. That's helpful. Do you know where he is? He's over here. Mac. Yeah. No, not Mac. Matt. Yeah. Matt, I'm looking for Matt Highcock. I can't find him. No. Unfortunately, I can't find him. It's his first one of the season as well. I really want to have a chat with him, but unfortunately, not able to. So, with minutes are just about to go out, we'll go to a quick ad break, and we're back in just a minute.
Next race is for the Mini 7 Racing Club Mini Miglia and Mini Libra Championship. A very welcome guest on the 750 Motor Club bill this weekend, fresh from their British Touring Car Championship support role at Thruxton just a couple of weeks ago. Let's have a look at how the grid lines up for this one then. And on pole position, talking of the BTCC, it's Andrew Jordan, number 77. He lines up on pole alongside number 46, Jeff Smith, two BTCC experienced drivers there. Second row of the grid on the inside is number 11, Kane Aston. Besides him is number 1, which is Aaron Smith. On the third row of the grid, it's 23, Rupert Deef, and the 98 car of the very experienced Ian Curley. On row 4 of the grid, another Mini Media stalwart is Colin Peacock, number 8, 89. Next to him is Sean King. Then it's Jody Lees and James Cuthbertson rounding out the 5th row of the grid. On the 6th row, it's number 76, Joe Polly, and number 5 is Phil Bullen Brown. Then on row 7 of the grid, it's number 20, and that is the car of Mark Sims. And then besides him, it's going to be Ryan Taylor in number 84. Then it's number 69, Tony LeMay, on the inside of the next row of the grid. And then we start to get into the Libra cars. So we've got 29, which is Harrington. Next up then, we've got the 126 car of Peter Hills, 133 being Les Stanton on the 9th row of the grid. Row 10 of the grid is the 595 car of Julian Proctor. Beside him is 969 Steve Trench. Then it's 113 Phil Harvey and 474 Josh Evans, and 123, which is Hugh Turner, rounding out the field. A very good grid of cars that we have. It is a split grid as well that we have in the Mini Miglia and Mini Libra Championships. The situation coming into this weekend in the Mini Miglia Championship, it is that Jeff Smith leads the way on 113 points. He is 6 points clear of Ian Curley, and another 2 points behind him is Aaron Smith. Andrew Jordan, who's on pole position, has not done all of the rounds of the championship, but he was, of course, out last time at Thruxton and won the 2 races there. And he's continuing with his campaign here at Anglesey Circuit this weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can continue that record. In qualifying this morning, he was less than 0.2 of a second faster than Jeff Smith. And Andy, a great racing prospect, as always in the minis. It doesn't matter what division of mini they are, it's always fantastic.
Indeed so, but the Mini Miglia is really going through a pretty sizable revival at the moment, aren't they, really?
Yeah.
Helped, of course, by the extra exposure of being occasionally on the BTCC package, but I think all that's done, really, is it's let a lot of people who didn't know about this championship know just how exciting a championship it is, and it's certainly generated several new supporters and followers over recent years, and I'm sure that today they're going to put on a show for us, as always they do.
That's right, and it's going to be a 20-minute race for the Mini 7 Racing Club Mini Miglia Championship. Have the green flag at the back, the race getting underway, and it's Andrew Jordan on pole position. He has not quite made, or has he made the best of the starts? He's just about going to squeeze ahead of Jeff Smith into target for the first time then. So it's Andrew Jordan leading, Jeff Smith second, and that's the driver in third place. It's Aaron Smith, that is, I think, who is spinning around. He's somehow got it pointing in the right direction. He's taken one car off with him, though, who's gone straight on at the banking. I think that was Aaron Smith that was the spinner, but who is going to be leading by the time they come back to Church Corner then? We'll try and pick up the leader. And it is Andrew Jordan, isn't it? The number 77 car that is leading the way. Jeff Smith has dropped back to third place. He's behind the number 11 car of Kane Astin as they head up the hill towards the Rocket Complex for the first time. But we're looking at the battle a little bit further back at the moment. That's involving number 1, which is the recovering Aaron Smith, and the number 98 car as well, which is that of Ian Curley.
I'm still trying to recover from that ridiculous save that we've just seen from Aaron Smith going into the banking. I think it was Rupert Death who went off in avoidance, but I don't think they ever made contact.
No.
Aaron Smith just was in the process of gathering together an insanely good 360-degree spin, and Rupert Death had to take to the grass to avoid contact, but that was remarkable stuff, and Aaron Smith is still going to come through at the end of the opening lap inside the top 5. That is outrageous. Off the final corner to go then. Jordan leads the way, Astin second, Jeff Smith 30, and Curley fourth, and Aaron Smith there in 5th position. There is that battle for 4th place, but Aaron Smith can count his lucky stars that he's even still in this race.
Yeah, absolutely right. He's done so well to keep it on the island, literally, and be running still in 5th position at the moment. So Andrew Jordan it is that leads the way then by 0.8 of a second, the 2021 champion. But here's the fight going on. Aaron Smith is not content to settle for 5th place. He wants to get 4th place back from Ian Curley as well. Ian's a multiple champion as well. In particular, in the late 1980s, he's had 2 Mini Miglia titles in a row in 88 and 89. And Aaron Smith has also been a champion in the Mini 7 Racing Club. He's trying to get a look upon the inside there, but he couldn't quite make it work.
Well, except out wide went Ian Curley up at the top of the hill, so Smith has gone through. Curley outbraked himself quite a long way going into Rocket. Ian Curley, of course, one of 3 former British touring car drivers on this grid, because Ian himself had a stint in the BTCC back in about 2005, I seem to recall. Probably about the time that Andrew's father Mike was debuting in the BTCC as well. That would have been about the same year. But Ian Curley, as you said, had a huge amount of experience elsewhere before and since then. Can, though, Aaron Smith now drag that pair up onto the terms with the top 3? That's the question. Well, you wouldn't bet against it, would you? They're not that far ahead. About 1.2 seconds is the gap between Jeff Smith in 3rd, who's just set the fastest lap, and Aaron Smith now up into 4th position. There you can see that leading group heading through the banking, and I don't think it will be long before Aaron Smith turns that into a 4-way fight for the lead.
No, I mean, he is a 4-time champion. He was the champion last year, but also at 18, 19 and 20 as well. Aaron Smith has been the champion in the Mini Miglias. There's arguably more competition than ever he's faced in the Mini Miglia Championship this year, including from the likes of Andrew Jordan, who's under pressure here from Kane Astin, who's gone past him at the kink, but he's going to lose out, I think, under braking for school. You've got Jeff Smith up on the inside of both of them as well. Cocking up onto 3 wheels there was the Kane Astin car, as you often see in mini racing. And after all of that, the orders didn't change, but Aaron Smith is easing a little bit closer to them. And Andrew Jordan has pulled out about 4 mini lengths over them as he turns his way through Peel Corner. Ian Curley is going with them as well. There's a bit more of a gap back then to James Cuthbertson, it is, who's running in 6th place in the number 37 car. He's 1.7 seconds behind, but it's almost 5 for the lead here, Andy.
That's a cracking shot, that, isn't it, as they come down the hill with that left rear wheel bouncing around in the air, and then they fling the cars into the right-hander before accelerating back through the final left-hander across the line. The top 3 covered by half a second after the first handful of laps of racing. And is this a challenge maybe being made by Kane Aston now? Looks for a wide line into the banking to try and cut back to a late apex and carry that momentum down towards Church Corner. Doesn't really want to make the move into Church. It's all about timing the run right here, not getting too close on the way into the right-hander, but then firing the car out onto the school straight and using that slipstream to attack. Here he comes then. He's less than a mini's length behind, gets the slipstream. Which side of the road will he go? He's going to look to the left, but Andrew Jordan has that one covered, and the 2013 British Touring Car Champion, I think, will retain the lead of the race for now. Kane Aston and Jeff Smith, though, both dancing around under braking, and somehow they all get it stopped for Rocket. Aaron Smith, though, very much with them now.
He is. Ian Curley not quite on their tails, is he? But he's not too far behind. But Aaron Smith, do not rule him out of being a race winner here, even in spite of those antics at the banking on the opening lap of the race. So it's Jordan leading, it's Aston second, Jeff Smith third, Aaron Smith in 4th place, then a bit of a gap back to Ian Curley in 5th position. This is only the 2nd time that the Minis have come here to race at Anglesey. They were here at the end of 2022 when the lap record was a 1:17.787. We've already got underneath that. Jeff Smith's 1:17.640 is a lap record.
Yeah, perfect conditions really for fast laps. It is warm and dry, but not too warm, so the track should have plenty of grip in it. Is Aaron Smith going to be able to find some grip around the outside line at the banking to move up into 3rd position? Well, he didn't go around the outside of Jeff Smith, but certainly came off the corner more quickly than the 3rd place man. That battle, though, is just in danger of losing touch with the top 2, isn't it? They're out of slipstreaming range, I'd say, now from the leading duo. So there might be an argument here to say that Jeff Smith and Aaron Smith should work together to close in on the top 2, who themselves, in fairness, are battling. Kane Aston pulling alongside Andrew Jordan to the outside line. The car's dancing around under braking, and I think Andrew Jordan will just about fend off that challenge. That's exactly the kind of battling that the 3rd and 4th place drivers want to see.
Yep, it's the 2015 champion Kane Aston against the 2021 champion Andrew Jordan out front. Then you've got Jeff Smith there in 3rd, who started to bridge that gap back to the first 2. Aaron Smith going with him as well. Ian Curley still not a million miles away either. Rupert Death, by the way, after his getting caught up with Aaron Smith's incident on the first lap, he's slowly plucking his way back up the order. He's back up into 13th position. We've had a change for 6th as well, because the 53 car of Jody Lee's now ahead of James Cuthbertson as well. But for the first 5, it's as close as it ever has been. Into target for the 6th time they go. Andrew Jordan still leading Kane Aston then. And then it's Jeff Smith, and Aaron Smith and Ian Curley. Through the banking they go, and out of it, down towards Church Corner, towards the mountains they go. It's on the last lap, it was Aston who was just a few hundredths of a second quicker than Jordan, taking a little bit of time out of him, but not an awful lot. There's Aaron Smith, still in 4th place, but there is still 13 minutes to go in this race.
Yeah, you've got to learn to pace yourself, haven't you, when you're calling these races, because it all really boils down to the last lap or so normally. Anglesey is a slightly different circuit in such that the one big overtaking opportunity is up at Rocket Corner. It's not a Thruxton, for example, where you can sort of save your move until the very last couple of corners of the race. It has to be a bit more forward planning than that. Joe Polly here under threat up at the top of the hill and losing a place, I suspect, here to Ryan Taylor. Maybe not, actually. Ryan can't get around the outside of Joe Polly, who retains that 10th position. And then there, look, Rupert Death, the black number 23 car, next in behind them. So Rupert still not back into the top 10 after that off-track excursion on the opening lap.
12 minutes to go, and yes, great battles all the way down the order. Of course, we've also got some of the Libra cars in this as well. Those of you watching on the live stream, they're the cars with the white background to their number, and it's Peter Hill's number 126 that's leading in those, but quite a few of the main Mini Miglia classes cars here, including Rupert Death. He's in 12th position at the moment, just behind number 84 Ryan Taylor. He's trying to get back inside the overall top 10. I think he has made a place there into the banking, so his next target is going to be Joe Polly. She's raced in Mighty Minis in the past as well, but this is for the lead. It's Kane Aston on the back of Andrew Jordan now. Got past that kink at the school, now up into the left-hander at Rocket, and Aston just sitting in his wheel tracks more or less there. Jeff Smith, who's a 3-time Mini 7 champion, has got back on their tail as well. 19, 20 and 21, the 3 years in which Jeff Smith took the Mini 7 title. We'll see them out later on, but he's racing the more powerful Mini Mealies this year. Kane Aston is enormously out of shape. Didn't lose a position, but he has lost a bit of time to Andrew Jordan.
Yeah, that cost him some momentum through Peel Corner, didn't it? But these are such short wheelbase and very stiffly sprung cars in the rear. They are quite lively on corner entry. And Kane Aston demonstrating that beautifully there. He'll close back in on Jordan, though. I'm convinced that is, for the time being, a very healthy 6/10 of a second lead that Andrew Jordan enjoys. But I'm fairly certain that Kane Aston will be able to overcome that deficit before too much longer. Across the line they go once again, then up towards target corner, and there Colin Peacock, stalwart of the Mini Miglia Championship, running in 8th position at the moment. This is the number 37 of Cuthbertson just ahead. James Cuthbertson, who started 10th, so he's gained a few places from where he started, leading a big string of cars through the banking. The back of which, I believe, is our Libra class leader, Peter Hills. Perhaps just off the back of this group, but Peter Hills leading in the Mini Libra class by some distance for the time being, and has been there since the start.
As the overall leaders turning their way through, the left-hander Rocket still in that same order of Andrew Jordan, Kane Aston, Jeff Smith and Aaron Smith as they make their way towards Peel now. Ian Curley now about 3.5 seconds behind this group of cars. He was a Mini 7 champion as well, was Ian Curley, before he was a champion in Mini Media. But so many of these drivers just do all of their racing pretty much within the Mini 7 Racing Club. Obviously, people like Andrew Jordan and Jeff Smith are an exception to that because they've, and Ian Curley, as you've said, have British Touring Car Championship experience as well. But there's something about Mini 7 racing and Mini Media racing that keeps drivers wanting to come back and do it again and again and again. And Andrew Jordan's a great example of that. He's gone off and raced in the British Touring Car Championship, but he's come back to club racing, often racing with his dad as well. Mike Jordan, who was out at Thruxton the last meeting. Of course, Andrew started his career in rallycross, didn't he, before he got involved in the British Touring Car Championship. I think he did that as soon as he was able to, at about the age of 16. But here we've got him leading this Mini Media race for much longer because Kane Aston having another look, door sort of being invited there for an entrance for Jeff Smith. He was just kind of left ajar and thought Jeff Smith was going to try and make something of that, but he's been unable to do so just yet. These 4 cars so evenly matched. They've all been laps in the low 118s and 117 in the case of Jeff Smith, but problems there for number 53. That's Jody Lees. That's the car that was in 6th position. Some smoke, but from where?
Well, I caught a glimpse of that out of the commentary box going into Rocket. I thought it was just a lock-up, but as you can see, the smoke has persisted. Now, smoke is not such an issue. The concern here will be whether or not there's any fluid being dropped on the circuit. Now, I can't see anybody behind Jody getting out of shape particularly, which would suggest that we're okay, but even so, I would imagine a black and orange warning flag may well be headed out with the number 53 next to it over the next couple of laps. We'll wait and see what happens with that. The leaders, though, turn their way around the banking and head down towards Church Corner. Now, Kane Aston, I think, I don't get the impression that he's sitting dutifully in behind Andrew Jordan. I do think he wants the lead, but just can't quite get close enough. He gets a nice slipstream up the hill here, but every time, every lap, Andrew Jordan hugs that left-hand side of the road, forces Kane Aston to go the long way round, and Andrew is then confident enough under braking to retain the position. There you can see he's later on the brakes than Kane Aston, but still gets the car stopped for the apex of the corner, and actually Aston now getting backed up into Jeff Smith and Aaron Smith sitting behind. So if Aston's going to get the lead here, he will have to try something a little bit different. Maybe try a move into the banking or just try and get Andrew Jordan offline, because simply relying on that slipstream up the back straight, so far at least, is not working.
It's not, I should tell you, it's now equally close in the Libra class battle as well, because Josh Evans has done most of the winning in that class this season. He's been 4 times a winner. He's now within 0.4 of a second of Peter Hills as well. So that's the 126 car for Peter Hills. 4274 is Evans. So we'll see if we can pick that up at some stage in this race. Here's a battle just outside the top 10. Sean King, Phil Bullen-Brown, who's been a podium finisher this season, both involved there. Well, certainly top 6 finisher, Phil Bullen-Brown, during the course of this year. There is Jeff Smith and Aaron Smith. There is Kane Aston. So there is just a little bit of a gap between the first pair and the second pair of cars. about 6 or 7 tenths of a second between them at the moment. About to head up to School Corner as well, but those, I think, Andy, the two leaders in the Mini Libra class. That's the blue and the green cars that we're looking at. So that's the car of Josh Evans, yes, in the 474 car, just behind Peter Hills in the 126 machine. So that is the battle for the Mini Libra class lead. This is a more open set of regulations, but it's still A-series engined minis. A good battle a bit further up among two other cars with a similar colour balance as well. That's for the final position inside the top 10. Sean King and Damien Harrington. And it's Harrington in the ascendancy in that position at the moment. So this is for 10th and 11th place. Also involved there is the number 5 car, which is Fulham Brown, and 84, which is Ryan Taylor as well.
Yep, down through the corkscrew they head then, and right at the back of that group, in fact just detached from that group here, coming into shot are your top 2 Libra class cars. So yeah, Josh Evans closing on Peter Hills, bringing Tony LeMay with him. Tony, though, of course, not running in the Mini Libra class, but can he get close enough, Evans, to have a go? Well, that time around, Evans was fractionally the quicker, about 3 tenths, in fact, quicker than Hills. And so the gap creeping down a little bit further. By the way, we've lost into the pit lane. Apologies if you've mentioned this already. Jody Leese, who we saw smoking earlier on, Jody in the pit lane. And there does appear to be a trail of fluid, potentially, that followed that car down the pit lane. So a good call bringing that car in. Hopefully hasn't left too much fluid out on the track.
Hot Dog Hills is still ahead at the moment, 126 ahead of 474, Josh Evans. Yeah, Evans has won 4 times so far this season. Peter Hills has had 4 podiums, but yet to have a win this season. So he'll be desperate to try and cling on here from the 474 car of Josh Evans. The leaders overall, by the way, just going back into our sights to complete another lap with just over 4 minutes of the race left to go. There's no change in the order amongst those cars at the moment. But it's Hills and Evans that we're focusing on right now. They've got the 69 car of Tony LeMay just behind them as well. He's in one of the actual Mini Miglia class cars rather than the Mini Libra class. The difference is the 3-digit numbers for the cars in the Libra class.
Yes, helps you pick them out a little bit more easily. And Peter Hills not really picking out an apex there through the corkscrew. Ran a bit wide, so Josh Evans does have a bit of a run, but hasn't been able to find a way through. Right, 3 3/4 minutes to go, and Kane Aston could not be any closer to the back of Andrew Jordan's car through Church, but I still think he's getting too close. It means he's not really carrying any momentum onto the back straight, and even with a slipstream, and we know that these cars slipstream well, he's not able to get alongside. I really do think, and it's easy for me to say from the commentary box, I know, that if he just held back a little bit more into Church, carried the speed off the corner, he could probably get a bit more of a run up the hill. But hey, Kane Aston has won more of these races than I have. We'll wait and see what he decides to do on the last lap, because ultimately, Ian, that is when the decisive move will be made.
I was just wondering whether you're going to be sort of going out into the paddock later on and giving him the benefit of your advice.
No.
Oh, that's a problem for 89. Fortunately, that's only polystyrene that he's hit so far, and that is the car of Sean King. And the other driver involved there, I think it was 29 Damien Harrington, wasn't it? They'd been doing battle for 10th position before. There's the 474 car of Josh Evans, who's still, I think, in second place within the Libra class to 126 Peter Hills. The leaders have gone on to another lap as well, just been noticed. They've probably got 3 laps to go. Still Andrew Jordan leading from Kane Aston, Jeff Smith and Aaron Smith. It's as close as you like, isn't it, between the 4 of these. But what we've not seen is a lot of place changing yet, Andy. Possibly you've alluded to why. Maybe the tactics of Kane Aston haven't been quite right. But at the end of the day, you don't need to make an overtaking manoeuvre on every lap, providing you make one at the right time on the last lap.
And of course, what he doesn't want to do is show his hand too early.
No.
So maybe this is all part of the plan. He's had a better run this time up the hill, but nowhere to go with it, really. Andrew Jordan will always cover that inside line, which he does again. Thankfully, both of those cars involved in the incident a lap ago have continued, so there are no yellow flags at the top of the hill. But yeah, Kane Aston, I suspect, maybe just biding his time, waiting for the final lap.
Into the pits has come number 89. That was the car that was off Sean King a moment ago. Clearly that polystyrene did more damage than I realised. But anyway, we've still got the lead battle going on with a minute 49 seconds to go. There's the 474 car. That's Josh Evans, second in the Libra class, under pressure from one of the Mini Milias, which is Tony LeMay. But he's still not found a way past his class rival. He's just a few mini lengths up the road. minute and a half to go. Leaders have just started their penultimate lap of the race, but we'll stick with this battle for the moment. The other driver involved there is the 1-2-3 car of Hugh Turner, so he is a rival of Josh Evans in the Libra class.
Yes, so actually Evans could be under more threat for second place than he's able to apply to Peter Hills. Tony LeMay has gone past him now, so there's a buffer between the top two Libra class cars. They head down through the final couple of corners. There you can see the Libra class leader, the blue 126 car heading towards us, and Hills looking strong out in front. Right, up towards the top of the hill for the penultimate time we go for the overall race leaders, and Kane Aston weaving around behind Andrew Jordan. He's also got to be mindful, though, hasn't he, of Jeff Smith and a slightly wayward Aaron Smith behind him. The danger with leaving it till the last lap, I've always felt, Ian, is that your plan might well work unless the guy behind has a go at you, and Jeff Smith will not be content sitting in third position. So if this is all boiling down to the final lap, Kane Aston will have to make sure he's out of striking range from the third place car.
That's right, and only just over one lap to go then in this battle. There is Josh Evans, and is he going to lose a place here to Hugh Turner? No, not quite. Worth mentioning, Peter Hills does lead the Libra Class Championship coming into this, although he's yet to have a win so far. Right, last lap for the race leaders then. Andrew Jordan, Kane Aston, Jeff Smith and Aaron Smith. 77, Andrew Jordan, the leader. Has Kane Aston been keeping something up his sleeve for the last, well, nearly 20 minutes now, because 20 minutes have counted down to 0. Has he got something to shock and surprise Andrew Jordan that Jordan doesn't see coming? Is he going to try and move up into Rocket? Because that's the best overtaking opportunity around this Anglesey circuit on the last lap. He carries decent speed through Church Corner, but as you've been saying, Andy, he's quite close to the back of Jordan's car.
It just negates that slingshot effect that you need, really. It's a bit counterintuitive, isn't it, to drop back and then try and get the run. Let's see what he does under braking anyway. Can he get to the inside? Andrew Jordan seems very late on the brakes this time around, but always seems to get the car pulled up. And yeah, Kane Aston just not quite able to time that move right. Now, that's not to say that a move can't still come further around the lap. Rocket is the best place to pass, but a brave driver might try and move into Peel. Aston not close enough there, which really just leaves the run down through the corkscrew. I've seen moves made into that final corner, but they are fraught with danger.
Yeah, very high risk strategy. So here they come into the corkscrew for the last time. It's Andrew Jordan, Kane Aston, Jeff Smith, Aaron Smith. It looks like they're going to come home in that order unless there can be a really good run out of the final corner, but no, there's not going to be. So they finish in that order. Andrew Jordan, a third successive win for him in the Miglia Championship. Oh, and still a battle going on for second amongst the Libra cars as well, and it's Hugh Turner who's going to get a place away from Josh Evans right towards the end of the race. He runs quite deep though through Peel Corner. He's just about got that done though.
Oh, they were both very deep, weren't they, really? But that was a good move made to claim second place in the class. But the class will be won, I suspect, by Peter Hills. Here he comes off the final corner now, and the turquoise-coloured car is going to claim the victory in the Mini Libra class. Second place in the end for Hugh Turner after a brilliant late battle with Josh Evans. And Josh Evans ends up down in third position. Not a disaster by any stretch of the imagination, but by his very high standards this year, that will be a slight disappointment.
Yeah, but a first victory, though, of the season for Peter Hills. He's been very consistent, but yet to have that first outright win of the year. Final few cars just taking the checkered flag at the end of that race. I think we had a couple in the pits during the course of that race, JD Lees and Sean King, after their various dramas. I think we just got Phil Harvey to come through as the final finisher in this race in the number 113 car, the driver from Birmingham. And here he comes now in that sort of Harlequin livery, multicoloured car, and he takes the check flag. He's the 20th and final driver home at the end of what was a very entertaining Mini Miglia Championship race with the Mini Libra class as well. Let's have a look at the results. Confirmation then of a win at the end of 16 laps for number 77 Andrew Jordan by just over 0.2 of a second in car 77 from number 11 Kane Aston. In third place it was number 46 Jeff Smith. In fourth, number 1 was Aaron Smith, and Ian Curley was a rather lonely fifth in the end, number 98. Sixth was 23, Rupert Deeth, bouncing back after that off, avoiding the spinning Aaron Smith at the banking on the first lap. Seventh was number 37, James Cuthbert, still ahead of Colin Peacock, number 8, Damien Harrington, number 29, and Joe Polly completing the top 10 ahead of Ryan Taylor, Mark Simpson, Phil Pullen Brown. Peter Hills in 14th overall won the Libra class. Second in the Libra class, a little bit further back. In 16th place was Hugh Turner, and Josh Evans completed the top 3 at the end of 16 laps of racing. And the Mini Miglia and Mini Libra cars are back out again tomorrow morning and I can't wait. Should be a lot of fun. We'll see the Mini 7s out later on this afternoon as well. We've got a change of pace though coming next, because it's the Nankang Sports 1000 Championship, so motorcycle engine sports cars coming next, and they do not have a green flag lap, so it'll be straight in to the next race. Let's hear from our Mini drivers. They are with Kieran Mogg.
Thank you very much, guys. And if this isn't a racing driver, he's already checking his tyre pressures. I've only just come out of the car. Andrew Jordan, what an amazing race. 20 minutes of, I'm sure, stress from your side.
Yeah, it was a long race, but it was, the car was good enough. Thanks very much. The car was good enough in the areas I needed it to be. Kane had slightly better front end than me, so I was just having to drive around that a little bit, but yeah, it was good. It kept me honest, that's for sure, yeah. It was quite a long 20 minutes at times.
I'm not surprised. I mean, the commentators were saying that you look really good on the brakes. Did you feel comfortable on them?
Yeah, I was better at that part of the top end of the circuit on the brakes and through the slow speed stuff, so that gave me a little bit of a gap, and I didn't want Kane to get... I'd prefer him a bit closer onto the back straight, because the slipstream isn't as effective then, so I was quite happy I could just back him up a little bit to the long straight, and I didn't want him to have a gap so he could get a proper run on me, so yeah, all good.
Yeah, well, congratulations on the win.
Very much, thank you.
Cheers, thank you. And we're going to go and speak to our class winner, Peter Hills. Now, he's just over here, the 126. If I can just chat with Peter. Where's Peter? Is not again. Is Peter Hills? Where is? Oh, they keep running off. I swear they don't want to speak to me. Peter Hills, where is he? Where? No, Peter Hills. Peter. Can I, sorry to butt in a second. Yes, congratulations, obviously the class winner.
Class winner?
Class winner, Peter Hills?
No.
No?
Well, I'm not sure
Where?
if he's gutted or I'm gutted.
Right, okay, right, I don't know then.
He's a bit older than me.
Is he over there? Oh, I don't know, they keep running off. Right, we're going to have to cut to an outbreak because the Sports 1000... Oh, is he over here? Peter, very quickly, sorry, class winner, sorry, yeah. How was it from your point of view?
Intense. That was my first win this year, and it was something I was boiling up to, and I was just like, I was so nervous, but I had pole, and I might just turn it into a win. But the pressure from Josh coming off the back of the grid was just intense, and I just said, don't mess up. When's the last lap board coming out, please? So that was, loved it. Let's go again tomorrow, hopefully. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Endo. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you. Now, we've got the sight and the sounds of the Sports 1000 category coming up next. See you in a second.
Time for the Nankang Tyre Sports 1000 Championship featuring the Atomic Racing Coupe 200 as well. Cars coming out onto the grid for their first race of the weekend. And they have 3 races in total over the course of this weekend, each of them 15 minutes in length. On pole position, I can tell you for this one, it is the man with championship experience under his belt, number 54, Ryan Yarrow, on pole position in the Spire GT3. Besides him, having switched from his Cup 200 car to a Spire, it's Richard Webb, number 8. 42 and 5 on the second row, that's Clint Newman and Scott Mittell. Third row is 43, Paul Rogers, and 2, Dan Clues. On row 4 of the grid, it's 63, Colin Chapman, and 72, Johnny McGill. Charlie Sladden, 28, and number 33, Daniel Ashby, are on the 5th row. 6th row is 44, Carl Austin, and 69, Ian Hutchinson. On the 7th row of the grid, it's 46, which is Charles Wright, and 77, Al Bolton. Naeem Hack, number 9, and John Cutmore, number 98, on the 8th row. Row 9 is 111 and 83, Mike Whiteman Hayward and Alex Aloro. Then John Murphy, 4 and 12, Chris Barker complete the 10th row of the grid. Vincent Dubois, number 88, will go from the back. So no green flag lap for these cars, other than the green flag that is waved at the back of the grid. 5-second board is shown. We're about to go racing for 15 minutes for the Sports 1000 and Cup 200 cars. Actually, we've just had a 30-second board there. Now it's the 5-second board, and the race about to get underway. So it's Ryan Yarrow in the green and yellow car, closest to the pit wall. The silver and red car is that of Richard Webb. It's not a good start from the second row for Clint Newman in 42. He's swallowed up by the pack, but it's going to be Richard Webb trying to go round the outside of Ryan Yarrow at the first corner, but he can't quite make it at target. So it's Ryan Yarrow that has the advantage from Richard Webb in second. Who's that going to slot into third place? We'll pick it up in a moment. It's one of them, Mittell, certainly, as they turn their way out of the corner. It is the number 5 car, so it is Mittell himself, Scott Mittell, that is up into P3, joining in this weekend. 4th place at the moment is Paul Rogers, then it's the number 2 car in 5th place of Dan Clues, and then it looks like it's Clint Newman, who made that rather bad start, in 6th position. We'll pick up on what's going on in the Cup 200 MK Indy cars as well in a moment. But there's Clues and Newman going side by side. Newman it is who gets 5th place away from Dan Clues there as they headed into Rocket.
Yeah, that was brave stuff actually around the outside to get that place away from the number 2 car, so regaining a little bit of the lost ground, but having started third, Clint will be very disappointed to have lost those positions early doors. Clean run though through the first few corners. They head down towards the corkscrew at the end of the opening lap. And what is the advantage going to be for Ryan Yarrow? Well, not a massive one, in fairness. He was nearly 4 tenths quicker than Richard Webb in qualifying. The gap at the end of lap 1 is 8 tenths of a second, so just under the full second. Richard Webb will
what a spin beneath us out of the commentary box window. It was the 46 car that was involved. That of Charles Wright, 33, was also involved. The two of them came together quite heavily. There's a red flag, the race being stopped. The 33 car was that of Daniel Ashby, and it was side-to-side contact as one of the cars spun coming out of the corkscrew and basically speared into the side of the other one. Now, although the race has been stopped, fortunately, it looks like the number 33 driver, Daniel Ashby, getting out of his car okay. The other car that was involved able to drive off, but obviously that car in a dangerous position up against the pit wall, and race control having that right underneath them, quickly reached for the red button, and the race being stopped straight away.
Yes, that was a scary moment, wasn't it? That is just a stone wall, that pit wall that they've hit there. That will have done a lot of damage to the cars, but as you said, thankfully, all drivers involved appear to be okay. And yeah, that's a shame for their race and potentially weekend to end that way. Hopefully all those cars will be repairable and we'll get them out again later on in the weekend. But for the second time today, we're under red flag conditions, and we had only completed 1 racing lap, so we'll go back to the original grid. Good news for Clint Newman, I suppose, who had clawed his way up into 4th position, actually, at that point. He will get reinstated onto the 2nd row of the grid. There was also a penalty shown for Paul Rogers, a 10-second penalty, I'm presuming, for a start line infringement. Now, exactly what happens with that on a red flag restart, I don't know. He may have just dodged a bullet.
Yeah, because obviously she needs to do it again. That won't be an issue the second time around for the restart, so that might be expunged. We'll go back to the original grid, of course, as Andy was saying, so it's like that first start never happened. So we have here the recovery vehicle, we've got the rescue vehicle and a medical vehicle as well, all just parked up besides Dan Ashby's car, just to make sure that he is okay. And there's the 46 car. That was the other car that was involved. For those of you watching on the live stream, that's Charlie Wright, the 46-year-old from Carshalton Beach. Is a clean energy lawyer, and in his second season of racing this Honda Fireblade engine Spire GT3, prepared by Tim Gray Motorsport. So red flag, we'll go back to the original grid and we'll get a restart, possibly over a slightly reduced distance from the original 15 minutes that were scheduled. And I don't think it's going to take too long to get this cleared up, unfortunately, not perhaps as long as we first thought when we saw that accident unfolding between us. Now, Andy, lovely though it is to have you with me in the commentary box this weekend. We were due to have Josh Barrett with me in the commentary box. You were supposed to be down there in the Park Firm area grabbing drivers and, but maybe even finding something in a way that Kieran hasn't managed to do very often so far. So you never know. Maybe we should swap you out. See if we can do that. But yeah, Josh Barrett was supposed to be with me in the commentary box. He's not here because his dad, Michael Barrett's had surgery recently and is recovering from that. I think he's probably watching us today. So, Michael, on behalf of everyone here and at 750 Most, get well soon. We hope to see you back, and indeed Josh back as well, very soon indeed. So, Sports 1000 cars, they have been stopped on the exit of the corkscrew, and the reason they've been stopped there is because they're giving the recovery and rescue crews space to work, and the cars will then need to be regridded by the start line marshals back into their original order just as soon as that can happen. We'll see if we get any word from race control over revised race distance. We haven't heard anything yet, but I expect we will see something on our TSL timing screens when we have that news. There's the medical vehicle making its way away now. I imagine it will have a driver on board there because it's completely routine in a kind of any collision these days like that the driver will go to be assessed in the medical centre to make sure there's no injuries, no concussion or anything like that we need to be mindful of these days. So perfectly normal for any driver involved in a situation like that to be checked over in the medical centre after the incident, even if they get out of the car straight away. But that's a sensible precaution. But good news that has departed. Just need to recover the car now. I don't know if there's any other damage to circuit furniture. As Andy mentioned, it is a pretty solid wall that you're hitting if you go off there, unfortunately. Let's hope the wall has stood up to that okay. And if so, then we should be able to get racing back underway very shortly here at Anglesey Circuit for the Sports 1000 Championship. Now, we've not had chance to mention the situation in the Championship before that race got underway, so we can do that now. Coming into this weekend, it was Ryan Yarrow that was leading the way on 114 points. Second in the Championship, a driver that's not here this weekend in the form of Richard Miles. He had 96 points. Paul Rogers third on 88. Carl Austin fourth on 86. And Colin Chapman fifth on 80 points with Charlie Slatton sixth on 75. The wins so far this season have gone 2 to Ryan Yarrow and 2 to Rich Miles. At Croft, Miles struck first and Yarrow retaliated. At Silverstone on the national circuit in May, it was the other way around with Yarrow drawing first blood there. But Yarrow had been a bit more consistent, therefore racked up more points than Rich Miles, who I say is not here this weekend. It's been unusual for Rich Miles to have ever done a full season in Sports 1000, but he's always been quick when we get here. And we'll tell you more about what's going on in Cup 200 as well in just a moment after a short break. So the cars reforming on the grid for this second attempt at starting the Nankang Tyre Sports 1000 Championship featuring Cup 200. Was scheduled to be a 15-minute race, and there's still actually 15 minutes on our timing screens being shown for this race, so we'll see if that's how things pan out. But the circuit now clear of Daniel Ashby's car. That was the car that was left over after an incident with number 46, Charlie Wright. Daniel Ashby, the 39-year-old scientist from Milton Keynes, in his third season of racing in the ex-Al Bolton Aspire GT3. Let's see if that car can be fixed for 2 races that are scheduled tomorrow. It's worth also saying Sports 1000 drivers, because they're really good eggs, they're putting on the Marshall's barbecue tonight as well. So hopefully all the Marshals here today can avail themselves of the hospitality of the Sports 1000 drivers. What's going on in the Cup 200 point standings? Well, Dave Watson was leading the way with 53 points, but Dave not taking part this weekend. So it is Mike Whiteman-Hayward second of 42 points, John Cutmore third on 36, Alex Aloro fourth on 35, that are the main contenders within Cup 200 this year. But those Cup 200 wins had been shared between Al Bolton and David Watson and Scott Mittell. Watson winning twice, Al Bolton once each. The last few cars are coming into position again. We've not got a green flag lap for these cars. We are slightly depleted because of the loss of Daniel Ashby, and I presume also the 46 car that was also involved in that as well, which came into the paddock, which is what we'd expect. That's the Charlie Wright car. But we still do have a pretty full complement of them, including on pole position number 54 Ryan Yarrow and number 8 besides him, swapping from his Cup 200 car, which he was slated to be in, to Aspire GT3. So I can only imagine there's some problems with that car for the former Sports 1000 champion Richard Webb that have caused him to switch to Aspire GT3 for this one. 1 minute board has been shown, so we're shortly going to be getting underway once more here at Anglesey. Revs will be starting to rise as the 15-minute race is ahead of us. 5-second board is now shown. The motorcycle engines starting to roar into life. Red lights go out and away they go, and it's not a great start at all from Raniero. Or is it? Not a great start by either of them on the front row actually, but somehow they both managed to stay in the first 2 positions. Raniero leading from Richard Webden. It was a better start this time from Clint Newman though. He got it all wrong the first time around, but a better getaway from him on this occasion. Do they all make it through the banking safely? It looks like they do, and they are off and running. It's the 42 car there of Clint Newman, just ahead of Dan Clues, and Scott Mittell in number 5 in 5th position at the moment. So the Mittell in amongst the Spires that are out front here. It's the dark coloured car, the black car of Scott Mittell there, trying to find a way through, but he can't make that work. Meanwhile, a bit further back, you've got the 28 car of Charlie Sladden, trying to find his way past Colin Chapman. I think he'd made that work as well in the Mittell AMC 53. I think that's the ex-Danny Andrew car that he has. And through the Peel right hand they come, down towards the corkscrew they go. And this is coming towards the end of the first lap. It's Raniero and Richard Webb. They are getting away, these two, from the rest of the field.
They are indeed. Now, third place on the road is Newman, but he's been handed a 10-second penalty.
So he's got to start wrong in a different way this time.
He was a bit too quick that time around, getting off the line perhaps. So third place on the road for Newman. And he's not the only one either. There's another 10-second penalty
Paul Rogers.
For Paul Rogers. Now, was it not Paul? Oh, hang on, there's more drama at turn 1. 2 cars on the grass from further down the order, numbers 4 and 88. So 4 is John Murphy, 88
is Vincent Dubois.
Yes, it is. So those two have both been off at target. Now Dubois doesn't look as though he's getting going. John Murphy back on the track, but Dubois' car stationary on the grass, albeit a long way off the road, but could still be deemed to be in a dangerous position. So it'll be interesting to see what race control choose to do with that.
Yeah, and there's a marshal rushing over just to check that he is okay, the ex-Alfa Romeo racer. So we've got some of the Cup 200 cars here. It's Johnny McGill is in the midst of them there in the number 72 car, so he'd have been expecting to be a little bit further up the order than that. Johnny McGill. There's 44 Carl Austin going through, and 69 Ian Hutchinson. He rounds out the top 10. Then you've got Mike Whiteman Hayward, who's the de facto Cup 200 points leader coming into this weekend, as we've now got the safety car heading out onto circuit, and that will be to allow the recovery of Vincent Dubois' car. And just acknowledging there, the safety car is Scott Mittelsch raising his hand to let everyone know that he's seen it, and to let other drivers know who may not have spotted the yellow flags and safety car boards that there has been a caution period. I'm not sure that Richard Webb had seen it, though, because he's just taken the lead away from Ryan Yarrow. And now we've got Dan Clues going past Paul Rogers, and it's all a little bit of a mess.
Yes, I think probably because the safety car is not out on track, that's what's led to the confusion. But that's no excuse. There are yellow flags and safety car boards out, which clearly drivers should have seen. So hopefully Richard Webb gets the message. He's still not let Ryan Yarrow back through, and neither of them are hanging around, are they? So I think they're both sort of maintaining race pace at the moment, despite the fact that they're passing several marshals posts with yellow flags and safety car boards out. But
and there's a little kind of gesture there from Ryan. What's going on here? So good luck to Kieran in sorting this one out in part for me afterwards, because we'll see how this is going to work out.
Well, they're now side by side through the final corner, and Yarrow goes in ahead, pulls aggressively in front of Richard Webb.
But now Richard Webb's retaken his position, so they've now both overtaken behind the safety car. And now Ryan Yarrow's gone back through again. It's all a little bit bizarre. And these are experienced drivers who know what should be done behind the safety car.
Yes. Yes, I think they'll both get a talking to after the race. But anyway, they do now come across the Renault safety car.
Dan Clues is still ahead of Clint Newman. That happened behind the safety car as well for third place.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's going to be a busy one in race control after this one, I suggest.
Oh dear. Right. Well, anyway, at least the leaders are back where they ought to be, I suppose. Within the Cup 200 class, by the way, Alistair Bolton still leading that class, but actually the next car behind him is Mike Whiteman Hayward in the 111 car, so that would be an interesting battle to watch when we do go racing once again, and we will hopefully see a good battle between those two. A couple of stragglers only now getting to the line as well, one of them being John Murphy in the number 4 car, who of course had his part to play in the incident at Target Corner. So safety car leading the field, around 10 minutes of the 15-minute restarted race to go, and Ryan Yarrow now back in his rightful position at the head of the field.
It's going to be probably at least one more lap, I would think, behind the safety car, because Vincent Dubois' car is only just being hooked up now by the recovery vehicle. For those of you that haven't seen Sports 1000 before, these cars use naturally aspirated 4-stroke motorcycle engines from Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki, Honda, 1000cc superbike engines. Essentially, there's pretty much free rein in terms of suspension geometry and architecture, but there's control regulations on springs and dampers, etc. There's free choice of brakes, but no ABS or carbon or composite discs. Sports 1000, it's mainly mechanical grip formula, so wings are not permitted. There's tightly controlled aerodynamic development, and the gearbox must relate to the engine with which it was originally designed. And they'll use Nankang AR1 control tyres this year. There's a limited quantity that they can use each season as well, and that is all designed to keep costs down. And of course we do have the Cup 200 cars as well. These are MK Indies. They have a larger engine, 1340 cc engine, and they are a separate class within the Sports 1000, really competing for their own point, but it's been a category that's been developed over the past couple of seasons. Right, they've decided that another recovery vehicle is actually needed to escort Vincent Dubois' car from the premises. No, they have now got it hooked up behind the van and take it away. So I think that is going to work. They now need to move the recovery vehicle off the infield, and then I think once they've got all of those off the circuit, we should be good to go again. Hopefully, at the end of this lap, maybe. We'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah,
depends how
you're not
quickly
sure.
they get because they're towing Dubois' car up towards the banking. and there's no way off the track up there, which tells me they'll have to bring it all the way around through Church Corner, up the back straight, and then use the cut through onto the pit straight. So I suspect we're going to have another lap after this one, and a safety car lap is something in the region of 2.5 minutes. So we're going to have a bit of a short, sharp dash for the cash here, aren't we, at the end?
I reckon the safety car laps can be a bit quicker than that when they can be.
Yes.
So we might squeeze a few seconds off that. So the Renault Megane safety car leading them around. Ryan Yarrow, number 54, leading this race from Richard Webb in second. It is still Dan Clues in third, ahead of Clint Newman. And that, to our mind, did change once the safety car flags were out. But it's not for us to sort that out. That will happen in race control. We've got Yarrow and Webb have sort of sorted each other out, but that doesn't necessarily negate the fact that you shouldn't have overtaken a safety car. And doesn't mean that there won't be further words and penalties to go after that. And this is only the first of 3 races this weekend for these cars as well. They've got one tomorrow morning and another tomorrow afternoon. So the cars, they're going to have one more lap, aren't they, behind the safety car, because only now is the Vincent Dubois in a position where it's going to sort of probably turn across the... is it going to turn right here? It's not going to turn right here. They're going a bit further up to turn across the circuit at the club circuit cut through at what used to be School Corner on the original Anglesey circuit. So take that across the grass, it'll come back into the paddock, and we'll then get a race underway at the end of this one. So it's probably going to be about 4 minutes, I would think, to go by the time the race gets back underway. Ryan Yarrow is on pole position then, the 33-year-old, or was on pole position, the lead of the race. From 33-year-old from Bury, he's an electrical engineer even. Started racing in 2018, he was the champion in 2021 and 2023. Did some karting in his youth. This is a Spire GT3 with a Honda CBR engine, and it's the ex-factory Billy Allbone car. He's got Richard Webb behind him on the track at the moment in number 8. He's a champion of Sports 1000 just a couple of years ago. I've not got that data in front of me, but I think it was 2022 he was probably the champion. Dan Clues in third place, 50 years of age, control system engineer. He's been racing since 1994, raced in supercars, an F1000 as well, which he still does as well. And his car built back in 2022, this Mattel, for Dan Clues specifically. And Clint Newman next up, who lists Anglesey as his favourite circuit, or at least he did when it was the only circuit he'd ever driven. I don't know if he's revised that opinion since then. He's the 42-year-old postman from Bath, and he's in a Tim Gray Motorsport run Spire. So, good quick lap being done here by the safety car. So actually we're going to get a bit more than the 4 minutes I thought we were going to get. And we're probably going to get 4.25 minutes by the time, or maybe 4 minutes 20 by the time they get to the line. They will probably squeeze just about 4 laps out of this then. Over the line they go. Ryan Yarrow it is, leading from Richard Webb in second, Dan Clues third, and Clint Newman in 4th position. Scott Mattel 5th, and Paul Rogers in 6th place. Not any immediate changes upon the restart of this race. Last couple of cars still coming across the line now, but this is possibly where we're going to get that change. Clint Newman chasing after Dan Clues. The battle for 3rd position overall. Clint, who had a podium, I think, on his debut weekend at Alton Park last year, if memory serves correctly, looking to get back on the podium here as well. Of course, he does have that 10-second time penalty, which is really going to set him back here, so that's probably not a reasonable aspiration. He's up on the inside, though, and he squeezes through ahead of Dan Clues, and Dan Clues might lose out there to Scott Mattel, who runs his car as well. Scott Mattel has gone through to 4th place.
Yeah, good opportunistic driving that from Mattel. Read that situation well. It was an aggressive move by Clint Newman, wasn't it? Just sort of rattled up the side of Dan Clues Mattel, and ended up costing Dan a couple of places, but really only 1 place on the road, as we've said, because Newman has this 10-second penalty hovering over him. as indeed does Paul Rogers, the next car in behind. Leaders across the line, then Ryan Yarrow. Well, there's another spin, and that is Newman this time, nearly in the wall. Just gathers it together, coming off the final corner, avoided that tyre wall, and continues on his way. We've had a few near misses in the last couple of races, haven't we? And Clint Newman, already with a 10-second penalty, has now dropped down the order, and another spin at the first turn. And that was Cutmore, wasn't it? From third place in the Cup 200 category. And yeah, Cutmore with a fast spin at turn 1, but thankfully manages once again to avoid any damage and continues on.
Right, so there is Paul Rogers. He is 5th on the road, but he's got a penalty hanging over his head as well, a 10-second penalty for a false start. And so that should promote Charlie Slazen, who's the car behind him at the moment. Slazen switching to a new car this year. But there's the 77 car of Al Bolton, a long-time racer with the 750 Motors Club, initially in Stockhatch at RGB, but he's gone on to race elsewhere in the likes of Praga. There's some radical racing, historic racing as well. The software manager from Cheltenham. He is leading in the Cup 200 class right now. 2 minutes only of this race left to go. Probably a couple of laps, therefore, for the leaders to sort this out between them. But there's about 9/10 of a second between Ryan Yarrow and Richard Webb as things stand.
Yeah, Richard Webb on that lap was fractionally quicker. I'm talking 200ths of a second quicker, so not a massive advantage, but at least staying just about within striking range. Through the banking then heads the battle for third place. Patel, Clues, Rogers next in line, and Charlie Sladen too, making it a 4-horse race as they turn through Church Corner. You can see Sladen at the back of that group, the blue and white number 28 car. Through he goes, looking to try and get a good run up the hill for the penultimate time and maybe make a move into Rocket, but I'm not really convinced he's going to be close enough. He is closing on Paul Rogers, but no, not quite within range of attack. Snatch of the brakes there for Paul Rogers as he turns into Rocket in 5th position. And quite difficult to follow closely in these cars, I'd imagine, through quick corners, particularly those such as Church. And that, I think, is making it difficult for them to make that move up at the top of the hill at Rocket. But another lap left still to try and make something happen.
Yeah, Paul Rogers, the 2011 champion. That was in the Contour at the time. He's been racing since 2006. He's from Attleborough, not far from Snetton, now retired. Another ex-Billy Oldbone car. There's a few of those out there. There's Clues in 4th position. He's dropped back away by a second or more from his team boss, Scott Mittal, who's making one-off appearance here, and Paul Rogers behind him in 5th. We're going to get a change there, actually. It looked like Clues just about fended off Rogers through the banking. They're heading down towards Church Corner now. Sladen just behind them, and also Colin Chapman as well, who's another Anglesey aficionado, loves it here. The circuit and the atmosphere. And it's a great challenge for the drivers, this Anglesey circuit. Clock's counting down to 0 though, so it looks like we are going to get the checkered flag this time. Yes, it's being prepared down beneath our commentary box. It looks like it's going to go to Ryan Yarrow after a relatively truncated race then in terms of the number of laps of actual racing that we had. But he's got 1.2 seconds of an advantage here over Richard Webb. Down through the corkscrew for the final time comes the man from Greater Manchester, turns his way out of the final corner, and it's going to be Ryan Yarrow who's successful again. He will extend his lead in the Lancang Tyre Sports 1000 Championship. It's a 3rd victory over the year, a 2nd and a quarter over Richard Webb. Scott Mittal 3rd, Dan Clues 4th on the road, Charlie Sladen 5th, Colin Chapman 6th, Paul Rogers 7th, Clint Newman 8th. All of that before penalties are applied, although Carl Austin's now just, yeah, those are now being, I think, put into the system on our timing screen. And the Cup 200 winner has just come through. That's Al Bolton, and he's beaten Mike Whiteman-Hayward by just under 2 seconds.
Yes, and a good battle for 3rd, I think that was, wasn't it, between Aloro and Cutmore. They were side by side down through the corkscrew, but Aloro just managing to hang on, 15th overall, 3rd in class in the number 83 car. So, yeah, exciting stuff further down the order, but really Ryan Yarrow never looked that likely to lose that one, did he? No. Certainly after the restart from the safety car, pulled a nice little gap, and Richard Webb, no answer, ultimately, wasn't able to get close enough to attack.
No, he wasn't. So a relatively comfortable win for Ryan Yarrow. As I say, it extends his lead in the championship. And obviously with Rich Miles not being here, Paul Rogers being, I think, classified 10th in the end, it's going to be quite a healthy addition to his lead at the end of that race. Final car just coming through now is the number 22 car of Chris Barker. But let's have a look at the results. The win went the way, as we were saying then, of Ryan Yarry, number 54. 10 laps completed in a time of 15 minutes 23 seconds. 1.250 seconds behind was Richard Webb, number 8. Third was number 5, Scott Mittal. Fourth, number 2, Dan Clues. Fifth, 28, Charlie Sladden. Sixth, number 63, Colin Chapman. Seventh was 44, Carl Austin. 8th, 69, Ian Hutchinson. 9th, 72, Johnny McGill. And 10th, number 43, Paul Rogers, once those times had been adjusted for penalties. Just outside the top 10 was Clint Newman, therefore. Al Bolton in 12.04 was the best of the Cup 200 cars, ahead of Mike Whiteman Hayward in number 111. Naeem Hack, 14th overall. And then you've got the remaining Cup 200 cars of Alex Aloro, 83, John Cutmore, 98, and after his off with Vincent Dubois in the early stages, number 4, John Murphy. Chris Barker, the last finisher, Vincent Dubois, a DNF. Cars heading back into Parc Fermé at the end of that race. They're back out tomorrow morning. It's actually the first race of tomorrow at 9:30, a bright and early start for them after their barbecue with the marshals this evening. We're going to have tin top racing next. The Tagiwa Type R Trophy cars are in the assembly area. We've got them, then we've got the Mini 7s and the Aimshot Mazda 7, so 3 really cracking races in prospect in a row here. And then we are back to some of the categories we've already seen once today in the form of bike sports and the Armed Forces Race Challenge. Yet to see the Clios. We'll see them out at about 6:20. And then we have the 116 Sprint Trophy and 120 Coupe Cup once again to round out the day. But the cars have been heading into the assembly area at the end of that Nankang Tyre Sports 1000 Championship race. Kieran Mogg will be doing his best to rally all of the drivers that he needs to talk to into position, and we'll be hearing from him very shortly indeed. Beautiful afternoon now here at Anglesey Circuit, somewhat breezy, I must say, and we should be set fair for the rest of the day. Tomorrow's forecast is for showers at the beginning of the day, but then I think rain disappearing around about lunchtime. Got the cars just about heading out for the next session, the next race of the day, which is the Tagiwa Type R Trophy, which with the cars for this category do have a green flag lap. Let's head down to Kieran now. He's in Parc Fermé. Let's see who he's got to talk to.
What an amazing race. Thank you very much, guys. And we're going to chat here with our race winner. Fantastic job there. You really had to defend off there. So how was it from your point of view?
Yeah, I knew Rich would want to get past kind of on the start, so I knew that I'd have to be really good on the first start, and then I had to do it again. And then I had to do it again with the safety car, which isn't as bad because obviously you've got control of when you go and all the rest of it. But I knew that the pace was there, and my pace in qualifying was good and consistent. You know, I managed to do kind of 4 times that were the same, so I just thought I need to get a good start, which I did, luckily. But it's always stressful when you've got to do it more than once. So yeah, I'm pleased, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And in terms of the circuit, obviously it's a little bit different than it was this morning. How are you finding the track evolution?
It feels windier. The heat doesn't do any good to these cars whatsoever. Tyres get greasy, engines don't make as much power. But yeah, mainly the wind, to be honest. I had a few kind of odd oversteer moments that I didn't have this morning. And then yesterday was a completely different day again. So you spend all day chasing setup on one track, and this place changes every hour. So it's an added complexity, I suppose. So it's a good challenge, and I love this place. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you very much. And we've got the Type R Trophy coming up next.
Yep, and the cars for the Tagiwa Type R Trophy are off on their green flag lap. It's the first of 3 races this weekend for the Civics. 3 15-minute races in prospect for them. Let's have a look at the grid for the first of the races this weekend. On pole